Do you
Do you
gotta
gotta
like
like
have
have
an
an
account to
account to
listen to this?
What's that?
Do you gotta have an account to listen?
No, anybody can join with like my link on YouTube or on Twitch. YouTube's probably the easiest one to do without an account, and I'm gonna post that on Facebook right now. So how do you want to introduce yourself to the audience? What do you want me to call you on here?
Yeah, I don't have to hack my fucking thought process from nobody. You can call me by my first and last if you want.
Well, I don't ever like to do last names just because there's doxing, right? We're online, other people can see or whatever. So we can just go with Matt and Alex. I'm chill with that.
Cool with that.
All right, cool. Let me get my camera on here. So I think for anybody that's coming in and watching this, I think it's important. Like, I would really like you. I'm just gonna mute my mic and shut up. I would really like you to share what you think I think about monogamy, and like what your problem is with that, so we can kind of start
It's
there.
not what you think about monogamy. It's the fact that you portray the fact that your current situation is above the standard normal situation, and you somehow you turn an open relationship into a victimized state, and I don't understand how that is. Like, I've got one of my best friends is actually in a very open relationship, and when I say very open, like, he's currently in a relationship with somebody and she knows he's having a baby with somebody else. Do I agree with that? No, I think that is way out of pocket. Would I be okay if my child was in that situation? Absolutely not. You got some shit you got to answer to at that point. Now, there is you view it like all right, I'm better, I'm above. I want to hear how, like, I get their studies, right? I get their studies, as there is with everything. But how do you arrive at throwing terms like existential crisis around and things of said nature?
All right. So first, I don't think my particular relationship right now is better than anybody else's individual relationship. And I've never made that claim. I don't support that claim at all. And I'm not sure why you got that.
I'm
Not
not
saying
saying
your
your
relationship.
relationship, your style of relationship. Not yours specifically, your style, and why it's better than other people's choices.
Okay, so let's talk about that, and let me see if I can make this more clear. So how do I get to existential crisis? Let's just see if we have some points of agreement here. Okay. Would you agree
What's your definition of existential crisis?
something that will ultimately result in not existing anymore, right? Something that is like damning to our future in like a serious way.
Let's get the actual definition.
I can pull that up. Yeah, sure.
Already did it.
Okay.
Existential crises are inner conflicts characterized by the impression that life lacks meaning or by confusion about one's personal identity. If you need a relationship or a form of a relationship, or a matter of fact, if you need others to inform you on your personal identity,
That's a different. Hold on. That's a different definition, though. I'm using the philosophical definition. That's like a personal psychiatry view of existential, right? Like, so that's funny because that's something I struggle with. Has nothing to do with my relationships. Ever since my dad died, I actually struggle with existential crises personally. However, that's not what I'm talking about. The philosophical definition of existential means concerned with existence. In other words, nuclear bombs are an existential threat to humanity. Right? We eventually could push all the red buttons.
Monogamy is on the level of nuclear bombs.
No. Our breakdown of interpersonal, our ability to have successful, long-term, meaningful interpersonal relationships is. And I think monogamy is one such problem getting in the way of that.
So you think our personal choice and being with a single partner and practicing with a single partner is damning to long-term relationships in what manner?
Okay,
Like
so
you can't be like for so I'm in a if I'm in a relationship, like a long-term relationship, I couldn't be friends. Like it could be a problem to be friends with another female,
actually,
like in the long term.
let's let's take that even that piece of it off the table, right? Let's even grant that I thought it was acceptable to limit your partner to not having female friends if they're male. Okay.
Sure.
The real problem is that because people's social circles have become so limited, right? So here's what I started to try and solve philosophically, just so you understand. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but like we used to report that we had 4 to 5 close friends that we could rely on in case of a personal crisis. To surveys. That was back in like the 70s. And like I think the way the survey question was asked, and if somebody else knows more, that's fine. But like this is the general premise: is like close enough friend that if my house burnt down, I could go crash on their couch while the shit got sorted out. Okay. So people used to report having 4 to 5 close friends. We get to the 90s, in the early boom of the internet, that went down to 2 to 3, and now the average adult individual, reports having 0 to 1. That's directly linked to increase in suicides, increases in all kinds of different things. So people just have way less close friends now. Way less close friends. And part of that, in my view, is because in their desperate attempt to pursue a successful escalator relationship, right? Which, yes, of one element to that is monogamy, typically. Typically, escalator relationships are monogamous. Not all of them, but most of the time. In their desperate attempt to pursue that, they will often spend extra time, energy, and resources trying to be with their partner. We've started to expect more of that in relationships. Like our partners expect a lot more of our time and our energy and our direct contact. And so because of that, we don't have a lot of energy for other social outlets, and we try to get more and more of our needs from one person. So it's not just the not having female friends, it's the maybe you don't have any real friends at all, or at least not any serious relationships that you can count on. Does that make more sense?
And I'm gonna counter that by saying, while I agree with your statistic that yeah, we don't have as many close friends, yeah, we're not necessarily looking out for each other in a society as we used to, as definitely in say the 70s, 60s, 80s. The 80s not as much as like the times before. While we are not looking out at or for each other in the same way as we did back in the day, look at how much the world has changed. I would argue that, I don't know, social media and leaving everybody with an anonymity is more of a threat of an existential crisis, as you put it, than monogamy would be. Because, I mean, if you look at studies, I mean, realistically, like social media is linked to more cyberbullying and suicides and things of
Yeah,
that nature. And
no
people
argument
think
here.
anything without a face.
No argument here on that. I agree with all of that completely. Everything you just said is completely correct.
So how much of the friends not being around is due to monogamy, would you say?
So here's where I think you and I are going to start to part ways on how I see this. Okay? And I want you to just hear me out on this, because this is the part I think like you didn't get from our previous conversation. I actually don't think anybody who quote unquote chooses monogamy actually knows what they mean by monogamy, can define it in any real sense, and doesn't know when the day is going to come where their desire to choose it ends or breaks down. I think it's a very poorly defined concept. What does it mean? If 10 years from now you decide you want to get into a different relationship, or you're tired of this one, or you'd like a new one, and you get out, is that really monogamous? A lot of people would say yes, but some people would say no. Some people think monogamy should be for life. Some people don't. Like, it's a very loose concept. I'm arguing.
Raw definitions. The concept of monogamy is practicing one at a time. So if you get divorced and you go, and I mean, realistically, like, in my opinion, like, this is going to sound really goofy, but like I said, I'm about raw definition. What it says is what it is, right? So, like,
Hold on, no. I get that. I get that. But here's why it stopped making sense to me. Okay? So let me just clarify the statement. if the raw definition of what it is what it is, okay, but is it actually? Because if we say I'm only sleeping with one person at a time, that what that really means is at some point you said some magic words to another person, right? So like you went to them and you're like, I want to be boyfriend, girlfriend. I want to be together. Whatever those words are. And at the time that you say those magic words, are we to naively believe that some kind of level up noise happened in the universe and now we have more commitment to each other than we had yesterday? Is that really what we think?
No, but I think that if you're already not prepared to be in a level of commitment in a monogamous relationship, then maybe you shouldn't take it to that level. And if you're using marriage or a ring or that next step as a way to try to ascertain more time out of your person, that more so describes a toxic person.
Okay, nope. So here is where okay, this is our disagreement right now coming to a head. Because what you're saying right there is you're trying to put it on the individual. And what you don't see is I'm on the dating apps every single day. Okay? I'm out on the dating apps. I have friends that are on the dating apps. I know people that are in this sphere every single day. And here's the real big problem, okay? Is that there is a massive social pressure to agree to those kind of monogamous restrictions earlier and earlier. Because most of the women out on the dating market want a guy who's going to commit more than he ever had to in the past from the jump. So many of them are currently single mothers. They're on the dating market and they're like, listen, if you're not ready to be a man and step into this situation, like we haven't even said 5 fucking words to each other. We haven't even said 5 words to each other and you already want me to like commit my whole life. So you could say, well, if you're not ready to commit to that, fine. So, okay, let's say I'm that kind of person that wants to make that choice, not commit to that relationship. What am I going to do if that's what every woman out there is asking for and I start to get desperate? Of course I'm going to feel the pressure to just decide to get like I might as well try something because I don't want to be alone.
In an imaginary world where every single woman wants that, absolutely, but we don't live in that world. We live in America, though, so that's not.
Dude, no, we do live in that world. What?
But what do you mean? We live in a world where sex is more transactional now than it ever has been before. Sex has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Like the commitment level that women are wanting, women are wanting like basically to. I can't even say women because there's guys that are out there that are doing the same fucking thing. You find those people, those are the red flags that you just walk away from. Again, that's on the individual. Like that is on the individual. She's out here. I'm not looking for my kids ain't looking for a stepdaddy. I am. Like shit like that. Like that's red flags. That's shit you walk away from.
Yeah, but my point is every guy will act like to other guys that, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk away from it. But he doesn't because that's the only thing that becomes available. Like these women keep finding guys. So somebody at some point gives in.
Women find the simp over them all the time. I have a really good friend of mine right now that's in a fucking trash-ass relationship. I'm against it 100% of the way. It's monogamous at that, dude. It pisses me the fuck off. That shit's gonna happen regardless.
No, so that's the thing. You're saying it's gonna happen regardless, and I'm trying to offer an antidote to it.
The antidote isn't an open relationship. The antidote is swiping left instead of right.
No. Okay. You're you're really stuck on this open relationship thing, and that's not even what I'm. You.
Okay. What point are you driving with this? Like that was the whole thing that started this whole debate, right?
Yes, but that's I've been saying from the beginning, Matt, that you're misunderstanding me, and you're not the only one. I think people intentionally misrepresent my position. They don't actually listen to the 10 hours of content that I've put out about this, so they don't know what I actually think. And granted, that's a lot, right? That's a lot. But I've spent years.
Hold on. I'm gonna get. Can you summarize your position in 120 seconds, and I can summarize mine on this specific debate in 100? Can you do that?
Yes, I can. Basically, I think that whenever two people are engaged in any kind of relationship, whether it be romantic or family or friend or whatever, there is zero justification for one to place any kind of restriction on that other one's behavior as a quid pro quo for certain considerations. So what does that mean? That means if you say, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then I will always do A, B, and C for you, right? If you say that and you hold anything over that other person's head in that kind of transactional way as a necessary contingent of continuing the relationship, that is a toxic violation of someone else's autonomy. That is a controlling behavior. One such example of that is you must not have close romantic partnerships with any other person. And the only reason you're asking for that, the only reason why I'm asking for that isn't because I'm concerned about STDs or concerned about pregnancy. It's just because I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good, and I don't want you to do it. It's these kinds of things where selfishly, egotistically, people think that they can place restrictions on other people's behavior in an effort to protect their own sensibilities. I think that's immoral. I think that is wrong. I think that is incorrect behavior, and it actually violates somebody else's autonomy. So, do I think that two people could come to a mutual agreement to be monogamous together? Yes, but not under this kind of a social duress.
And what social duress is that exactly?
Exactly the one that I just said, that you are going to be cut off from me forever. I'm going to destroy this relationship if you ever even think about it. You might lose access to resources of different kinds. Like, basically, you lose the most important relationship you've ever built in your life if you decide to not comply. It's a form of blackmail, really.
So let me ask you this. All right. You say that like this you're referring to like a monogamous relationship in that aspect, correct?
But it doesn't have to be. Okay, so if a parent goes to their child, right? Monogamy is one example, but it's a series of different types of behaviors. So if a parent goes to their child and says, unless you perform XYZ actions for me, I'm excommunicating you and cutting you off from any support for the rest of your life. That's a bad parent. And I don't care what the demand is. So why is it all of a sudden okay to do that in the case of a relationship? Where's the justification for it?
Well, because in a relationship, it's a mutual agreed thing.
That's where I disagree with you.
You don't go into a relationship like, yeah, man, we gonna do our thing, and then she's like, bam, you motherfucker, you stuck with me now. You gonna follow all these rules right now.
Hold on, Matt, please. Matt, please. Have you not heard of a trap baby?
Have I heard of it? Oh, absolutely. That shit all the time.
Okay, we grew up. We're. If I remember right, we're from a pretty similar hood. Am I wrong?
I'm not sure where you're from.
Like West Des Moines area, like you know.
No, I'm not even from Polk County, bro.
Oh, okay. So you just moved here, or what?
I came here in 07, came for vacation. My little sister passed away. Stayed for probation, and just kind of never left.
I had no idea about that. That's wild. Okay. I just knew we knew like a lot of the same people. Okay, well, before that I grew up.
I know everybody.
Before that I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, which like is like literally like one of like the 5th worst cities. So like in the entire state. It's pretty bad. Okay, so
I lived in Fort Dodge for a hot minute, man. If you don't want good Mexican food or meth, don't go there.
I spend a lot of time at Fort Dodge. I was actually there just today for work. That's so funny. But you ain't kidding. No, I've never ate there. What's that?
Taco Tico, dude. Check that shit out. It's fucking lit.
All right, cool. Okay, so
It's over by the old mall. But anyways, back to the point. Did my internet cut out?
yeah, no, you're good. Okay, I'm just trying to think for a second. So, like, I just don't think that you are mutually agreeing to it, and I think that's what ultimately you and I disagree with. I think you think two people are entering to this partnership under fair pretenses, and I don't think so. And so, can I just make one or two arguments to let's see if you can wrap your head around how I'm viewing this?
Yeah, but hold on, before we do that, the mutual agreement thing, like, the mutual agreement, that would be to, like, locate certain incompatibilities within the other person or within yourself with that person, correct?
No, it just means... Well, okay, sure, but, like, do you think that people enter into honest mutual agreements with their employers for a fair set of wages, like they're making that choice completely free of duress?
No, but you need to work so you can have money to eat. You don't need to be married to eat.
Ah, but you do need some things. Like, forget married. Let's just say long-term partnership. You do, like, that is actually a fundamental need. You will literally not thrive without it. Is that fair? Do we agree on that, or maybe no?
What, that you need, like, that you have to have a long-term partner?
To thrive. Not necessarily to survive, but for sure, surely to thrive, to experience the good life.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that. I don't think anybody needs. I think it's all a matter of preference.
So,
I have friends that are very wealthy that are in their mid-40s that have never been married, never had a serious relationship. They've had girlfriends, sure, but never for more than a few months at a time. They're happy as ever. I mean, maybe
they seem it.
On the inside, but it's a life that they have chose to live, and it's a life that they stand by, and they preach that life the same as you're saying the things to me. And I still, like, it's, I don't think it's for me. I have 2 kids, man. Like, I forget the whole relationship thing, man. Like, at this point in my life, like, I know what my purpose is. Like, I'm a dad first and foremost.
You, by the way.
Like, that's my obligation to this world. Like, now, as far as my relationship goes, like, I think that's kind of the key part of dating, is figuring out those incompatibilities, figuring out what you're going to mutually agree on. Like, you're not gonna want if you're going, hold on. If you're going for a monogamous relationship, right, and you want to retire with 400 acres with a couple of creeks, you're not going to date somebody that wants to live in downtown Manhattan. You're not going to want to marry that person that wants to live in downtown Manhattan. That's going to be one of the things that, that's an incompatibility. I have a friend of mine, rides dirt bikes all the time. He went on a date with a girl. She absolutely despised bikes, man. And that was the end of that. She said that motorcycles were killing the world. So he ended the relationship. He ended it. He didn't go on another date. It would end compatibility. That was something that meant enough to him to call it done.
Honestly, he's better off. And if it's the person I think we're talking about, I think I know who you're talking about.
No, it's not Pizzetti. It's not Pizzetti.
Okay, all right. Well, here's the funny thing about that, all right? Like, I'm as lefty climate change as you can get, but the other day, my company let me get a fucking Mustang GT convertible as a rental with the fucking V8 in it. You don't think, or not the V8, the fucking 26-pound turbo with max boost. If you don't think I wasn't fucking blowing that shit up all over Cedar Rapids, you bet your sweet ass I was. I believe the planet's dying, but let me have a rich car for a day. I'm still going to have some fun. That's a really childlike and immature view, so I think your buddy did better off.
I build performance engines for a living, man. It's I get blamed for shit all the time by sweet little old ladies.
All right, so let me I've just got one question, and I'm curious where your intuitions lie here, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen in the past, I support a universal basic income. It's the idea, whether you think it's possible or not, grant me that it would be possible to do it without massive inflation. Let's say we could give everyone $2,000 a month on top of whatever they're currently making from work. They keep it no matter what. They don't lose it if they go to work and make more money. So you're still making the money you're making. You also get $2,000. And we've had a way to entirely pay for that $2,000, right? We're taxing it from all the people that have oodles of money right now. Okay? And if we did that tomorrow, how many people do you think would instantly pack up and leave their so-called committed long-term relationship?
Well, doesn't that mean that they're in the relationship for the wrong terms and are the wrong reasons to begin with?
But why? Like, yeah, exactly. But why? Where's that pressure coming from? Why do it?
Where's the pressure coming? If they're leaving because of financial reasons, then it's financial reasons. That's not.
It's not.
Financial. They weren't making enough money.
Okay, it's toxic monogamy culture. That's the point.
I don't understand how not making enough money is toxic monogamy. Like, that's them not having the money to be able to not be with their person, so they're literally leeching off of that person. That's a toxic person. That's not toxic monogamy culture. That's a mooch.
No. That's not a mooch. That's somebody using financial power to artificially get someone to stay with them, even though they haven't earned their presence by actually being a good person. See, I see it the exact opposite of you.
The way you're describing it, it's like she's like, leave me and you're going to be broke, motherfucker. You're going to live under the East 14th Bridge. And, like, that would be a key part of the information leading up to this discussion. But you didn't say that. So if that's not what's happening, then they're not using their power as a way to keep them there. Matter of fact, the person making the money probably doesn't even realize that the other person would leave them if they had the financial means to do so. So that's not toxic monogamy culture. That is a toxic person.
Okay. Except for the... Did you just say a soft N-word? I hope not.
No.
Okay, I don't know why Liam said that. I think my buddy Liam's in the chat. He's smoking something. I don't know what the fuck. Anyway.
Me too, man.
There were no N-words stated. Anyway, so okay. Let me explain it to you like a different way. And we'll see if this lands. That was one example, but I have like a different example. Okay? There are a lot of people who get into the relationship, and like as a condition of continuing the relationship or going exclusive, people tend to like have little things that they expect from your time, your energy, whatever. Like, I'm going to expect that you have a date night with me like every couple weeks, this, that, and the other thing, right? Would you agree that those kinds of things are completely fair game for a committed relationship?
What, for like you to have like a date night with your wife like once a month or something?
No, to put a demand on the other person to commit to a certain series of actions lest you will break the relationship off.
Fuck no, dude.
Again,
that's not a relationship. That's a narcissist. Like,
bro, that's 90% of the relationships today. Like, I get that maybe you're not experiencing this, and I'm glad for you.
They're in unhealthy relationships. That's an unhealthy relationship.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
People find themselves in situationships more than they find themselves in relationships.
So the problem you have with my view is you don't think that's a product of toxic monogamy culture. You think that's just toxic relationships. But let me ask you this. Why is it growing so much? Why is that a growing problem? Why are more people finding themselves in toxic relationships rather than less? Why are people having the worst rate of successful relationships ever? Like, why do you think that problem exists?
We live in a culture where everything is replaceable. If you look at TVs back in the 50s, it broke. You called a TV repairman. He hauled his ass to your house. He fixed your shit. Today, or back in the day, you had a fucking problem with your significant other. You sat down, you talked it out. Nowadays, everybody's replaceable. Everything's transactional. You could break up with your woman tomorrow and there's 45 dudes in line waiting to fucking take your place. It's going to happen. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you're dating fucking Scarlett Johansson or fucking Precious, bro. It doesn't matter.
Okay, okay, dude. That is the exact opposite of the problem. Let me refer to what you're referencing. If you had a problem back in the day, you used to sit down and work it out with your partner. Is that what happened? Or did someone agree to take a very bad deal because it was the best thing on offer and they didn't want to be seen as a hoe by the society? Like,
I'll give you that, because women really couldn't do an awful lot, but nowadays, if you really sit down and look at things, it's women that are getting taken advantage more so than men. And that's not even
yes!
like a thing. There's literally an entire it's every rap song ever now. Like it's the norm.
Okay, but why? Like, that's the thing. You and I completely agree. There's this problem in society. I think we figured that out. We agree that there's a problem in society. There's kind of a rot where relationships aren't legit anymore. Okay? The only thing we disagree about is you don't think that rot has anything to do with what I'm calling the social enforcement mechanism of toxic monogamy culture. And it's all the things that were listed in that post.
In the way of social enforcement, though, other than taxes, which there's tax breaks that come in all forms, shapes, and sizes.
Bro, it's the judgment. No, it's the judgment. Okay, it's the fact that here's an example.
If people around you are judging you for the decisions you make within your relationship, again, that's a personal thing. Those are shitty people.
That's all the people, Matt. Like, I agree with you that maybe they're shitty people, but like, dude, you want to get... Hold on. Do you want... It is, because if you want to get big on TikTok tomorrow, post some video about some cheater getting what he deserved, and you will be a TikTok star in 10 seconds fucking flat. Okay? We are obsessed...
If you choose to be in a monogamous relationship and you cheat, then you got it coming.
I do people feel like they have to? Why can't they just be honest and say, I want to fuck somebody else? Have you ever thought about what the pressure is?
That is the fucking problem. It ain't got nothing to do with toxic monogamy culture. It's got the fact to do with everything's
Toxic,
now.
no.
People be honest and genuine with each other.
I'm telling you the answer.
You're high schoolers. They do it too. They don't have anything to gain.
Telling you the answer. Toxic monogamy culture is the thing that makes people not feel like they can be honest about their actual feelings towards other human beings. Like, that's the part that you're not getting. It's that because the pressure is, and I was in this situation myself, where you feel like you're supposed to make it work with this one partner, and maybe you've been going good for a year and a half. But now you realize you committed too much of your resources and too much of your time too early, but you've become a unit now and you're together. And so if you break up, your friends are now her friends and her friends are your friends. And so you're going to lose so much. And so it becomes way easier to be sneaky and cheat because you can't be honest. And that's because, you know, every time anybody tries to be honest about wanting to be with other people, they end up, it goes bad for them so fast, it's like whiplash, dude. I have had like a dozen of those conversations just in the last few months.
Okay, so hold on. So when you go from a monogamous breakup, you lose friends and like it's a messy thing. It is. I'll give you that. It is. So what's the end result that most people aim for in a monogamous relationship? It's marriage, correct?
Yes, and that's the part I think is a problem.
Well, but there's also open marriages, correct?
Yes, but hold on. So this is one of the things I was trying to explain to you.
Hold on. I let you explain. Let me explain.
Well, can I clarify? I don't like the terms you just used. I actually don't use them in my videos. I talk about escalator and legacy phase of a relationship. And the reason I do that is because some people don't get married, but some people do everything else like they're going to be married. They live together, they're exclusive partners, they share property, they share everything, okay? And that is the exact mentality that is the reason why relationships exist, is to try and get to that point. That's the thing that I think is toxic.
But I don't think that a healthy person thinks that that's the reason why relationships exist. You see, you can achieve all of these things on your own. You don't have to be in a relationship to get any of that.
You are in the minority then, and I think that you should ask other people if they think that that's an essential part of the good life.
How is that the minority though? Nobody's stopping anybody from obtaining any of that without any there's no banker that's like, hey, you ever been married, bro? You ain't. No loan on that house. Hell no, you ain't never been married. Fuck off. That doesn't happen. That's never happened.
No, but people think they won't get meaning unless they find this, right? And the reason why they think they won't get meaning is because from the time they're 3 years old, every Disney movie and every book and everything they've ever read says you're a piece of shit if you don't find your true love out there.
Yeah, but then eventually you get older and you realize fairy tales don't exist and it becomes a choice.
You need to. I now think the problem is you don't talk to women, and I mean no offense when I say that, Matt, but I promise you, they are 35 years old, still living that fairy tale, bro. Every last one of them that I know is still 100. I know them at 50 still living that fairy tale. I know them at 70 still living that fairy tale. Maybe dudes go, oh, that's clearly immature, childish. Women believe that shit till their fucking grave, bro.
Okay. Where was I at now before I was interrupted?
You were saying that that's a fairy tale thing, that like, oh, you're gonna find the one true love, but like, dude, that's what most people believe, and that's who I'm talking to on my show. That's the whole like, if everybody believed that was just a fairy tale.
That's not the point that I was making. Don't try to fit that part into the narrative. That's not the point that I was making. You made me lose where I was going.
I think what I'm trying to get you to realize is you just stumbled on my whole point. My whole point is that's a fairy tale.
Because you interrupted me. If you interrupt somebody that's stoned, they're gonna get.
No, I get that, dude. Like, that's what I'm trying. Okay, you were saying that, like, my retort was that people think that from the time they're 3 years old, they see all this books, all this literature, that they ain't shit unless they find their one true love. And you started to say that was a fairy tale.
Oh yeah, you get older, you realize that like you don't necessarily need the acceptance of everything else. So when you watch those same fairy tales, everything kind of fits a pattern, right? And you kind of follow that pattern. You meet somebody, you kiss them, you fall in love, you fucking sail off into the sunset, right? But eventually you kind of realize that, like, real life, you're not a princess. You're not going to get a bajillion fucking dollars. You have to work. You know what I mean? Hold on. What's up, babe? I'm debating. Sorry.
That's all good.
I don't understand. She just was looking at me. I don't know. Anyways, like, you realize that it's not gonna happen, and you realize that, like, norm isn't really a norm. You don't have to follow that, right?
No,
So,
but
like,
no, but what's the point of?
growing up, how many times did you see lesbian princesses? That's not drilled into nobody's head, and I know that, like, being gay is.
I fantasized that a lot of the princesses were lesbians. I just have to point that out live on stream. I did fantasize that most of the princesses were lesbians. It was much more fun that way.
But anyways, like, there's that's not preached, right? So, like, what if you turn out to be a lesbian? Does that just go out the window? Does that fairy tale just go because you're a lesbian now?
So okay,
Like,
but
no.
hold on. I'm confused.
Hold on.
You're arguing now that, like, just because it's not the norm, just because it's the norm doesn't mean you have to follow it. That's literally my point.
No, no. Your point is that toxic people and toxic relationships equals toxic monogamy culture. This is why I wanted to bring up that picture in which started this whole ordeal, and I just wanted you to point out 3 things. That was it.
Okay, so I will point out those 3
Let's
things.
pull that up, and we're gonna break it down one step at a time. Okay.
I'll point out those 3 things right now.
You put a lot of sauce. You put a lot of sauce into that. So we're gonna go through that.
No, but you,
So the normalization of jealousy is an indicator of love.
yeah.
That's a toxic person. Yeah, that's a toxic person. It's natural to be jealous. Like, for example, if Channing Tatum was like, "Hey, Alex, I want to bang your wife, but you can't, like, you get nothing from it. You can't be part of it. You can't do nothing. And I'm gonna broadcast it to the world for people to see, but you don't get it. Like, you're probably gonna be a little jelly, right?"
No, I'm gonna tell him if he doesn't. I'm gonna tell him if he doesn't nut inside her and give her a baby. I'm fucking pissed.
And the idea that sufficiently intense love is enough to overcome any practical incompatibilities. That's literally what dating is for. In a monogamous relationship. So, like,
Except it obviously fails.
The dating process.
But
People don't really go through the dating process anymore. I have one of my really good friends hooked up with a chick, and she just kind of never left, and now they've been in a relationship for like a year and a half.
literally my whole point.
It just happened.
Why? It happens because of monogamy norms. You don't understand. You don't see monogamy and the way we practice it today as causing all of these things, and I do. Like, that's the difference, is you think there's some other cause, and if you have some other cause, figure out what it is. I encourage you to do so. But I promise you the reason why that shit is happening is because of the toxic monogamy culture around you have to have this in your life or your shit. So you will, like, as soon as you think you even have an inkling of a chance that you might have it in your life, you go, this is it. And you put all your eggs in that basket. People do this all the time until it blows up in their face. Like, I see this all the time. People are, the funny part is like, I have you disagreeing with me on Facebook. You wouldn't believe the amount of relationship advice I give to people on a week-to-week basis because they're having real life blow-ups in their relationships because of this exact thing. They got into relationships before they knew how compatible they were. They were stuck in situations where they agreed to things that they didn't want to agree to, and now they're here. So you don't see that as a product of toxic monogamy. But it is.
When two codependent people end up in a house together, they end up in a fucked up relationship. That's literally all you've described.
And what I'm telling you is that is genuinely over like half of monogamous relationships in the modern world, which is why the statistics are so bad.
Which makes those what? Toxic relationships. What the fuck, dude?
Yes, toxic monogamous relationships as normalized.
Open relationships. You can't have one without the other. What about toxic?
There
open
are
relationships?
absolutely toxic open relationships, which is why I make the point on my show that it's actually not monogamy or open that's the problem. The escalator is the problem. The escalator is the problem. The core thing is the idea that getting to the legacy phase of a relationship is the only valid teleological justification of the relationship. That's the toxic thought, and that is embedded into how we think of monogamy. If you think about it, okay, somebody just got into a relationship, they've been into it for 6-7 months, it's going steady, but they haven't moved in together yet. Their parents might come to them, or their friends, or somebody like, are you guys even like really serious because you haven't moved in yet? Like, they are judging that based on a series of steps that goes up an escalator, and they're using that as their model to justify whether or not a relationship is healthy. And this pressure comes from the outside, not just the inside, but it definitely comes from the inside too, because it's in all of our pop culture, it's in all the books, it's in all the literature, it's in all the TV shows.
No.
I mean,
I'm
no's not an argument.
I'm not going to say that it's not like demonstrated heavily, but like literally all you, again, like, I don't. So, are you referring to monogamy as toxic? Is that like your stand on monogamy? Is it like traditionally monogamy is toxic, correct?
How about I give you an example of what I think it would take for monogamy to not be fundamentally toxic, and maybe we can start from there. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I should have been fucking nuts. With
you're doing great. It's all good. We're just figuring some shit out. All right. So here's the scoop. I think for a relationship to be not toxic and agreed upon to be monogamous, so two people both want to commit to monogamy and it's not toxic, what that would require is, number one, both people to be entirely financially independent of each other. That's a really important one. From the beginning, it would have to be agreed that they could do that while cohabitating or not. Cohabitation was not a key condition of their relationship.
No, pause. So you're saying like financial freedom from each other, but still still chipping in, right? Like an account for the house to pay all the bills, and then separate accounts for your own money, correct?
No, I'm actually suggesting that both parties, for it to not have toxic elements to it, would have had to agree to, there would have to be no financial incentive to be in the relationship whatsoever. So that includes not helping out on bills. I think what a lot of times we don't realize is we're surrounded by people that are struggling to get by. So we make all kinds of little sacrifices. Sometimes it's personal ones.
They're going to live in the house and not help with bills, and that's going to help financial freedom?
No, I actually think no cohabitation should be an option for a healthy monogamous couple. Maybe you have two people that don't want to live together, but they want to be monogamous. And maybe cohabitation would be something they could try or could not try. But as if it becomes an expectation of the relationship that the only way we want to do this relationship is if we cohabitate, that's a step towards toxicity.
So you think like separating while within the relationship, like having your own like space, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or at least you should always have the option to.
When like old people would like, when the wife would have her own bedroom and the husband would have her own room.
Yes, I think that was healthier.
That might have been something that helped back in the day.
Yeah, it was really healthy. It was very healthy. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so that is an option. That is something that still happens today. One of my friends is a motor vehicle enforcement officer, and his wife has a bedroom right next to his.
It's rare, and it's rare because of social pressure. And the social pressure comes from a set of norms that have been a natural evolution of how we now think of monogamy today versus what it used to be.
Social pressure comes from the social crowd that is around you. If your crowd is forcing you into something you don't want to be part of, then surround yourself with a different fucking crowd.
Dude, it's the okay. This is
I'm not going to surround myself with dare officers and narcotics officers. It's not going to happen.
You need to meet cooler ones. There's some out there that are totally chill with pop, but I get it. Um, okay, so here's the thing about that. You're acting like that's so easy. But in the days of social media, which is the whole reason why one of the first things on one of my first videos is I explained that the digital age created this problem, okay? Because of the digital age, it's your crowd, quote unquote, doesn't exist anymore because you have no real friends. So the crowd that you get is whatever TikTok feeds you. The crowd that you get is whatever's on your social media. And like in the city, like which is where something like 80% of our society lives is in a major city, right? In the cities, it's especially like this because you no longer have the small town like where you can make the choice of I'm going to hang out with that group or this group. Like it doesn't work like that anymore. That's not how people socialize. So I'm trying to meet a problem where people are right now.
Oh my God. So again, that comes from the social crowd around you. If you choose, like I will say that human interaction and face to face has gone downhill, but if you choose to not have human interaction, you choose to live your life through a screen and not have any actual friends, then the social pressure that you put upon yourself with whatever it is that you choose to be part of is still kind of on you. And on top of that, on social media and things of that nature, you can kind of just hit the fucking unfollow button. You don't have to be pressured by anybody.
That's not how that works. No, that's not how that works. Okay, so, all right. I now know where our core disagreement is, and this is exactly what I suspected. Have you ever looked into the arguments against the idea of free will?
I think free will is a very scarce thing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't think we live in a world of free will.
Then why do you keep talking about people's choices as if they're not a product of their genes, environment, and culture?
Oh no, like free will in that aspect, absolutely. Absolutely. Free will in the aspect of like doing whatever the fuck you want to do. Like I'll keep it real with you, bro. If I could run around naked all the time, I fucking would.
A lot of us would.
My free will would be like just be fucking naked.
Maybe.
As far as social free will, you have social free will. You don't have
Okay, no, you don't.
partake in anything.
Yeah, that's where I completely disagree with you. So
What do you have to partake in?
well, it's not actually. So let me state what the argument is, and this is something you may not be aware of. I'm gonna guess you never like spent much time reading philosophy or like took any philosophy courses or anything like that. I mean, no offense by that question. I'm just double checking.
Yeah.
Okay, so the argument that we have what's called libertarian free will, which is the idea that every time we make a choice, we could do something else, right? So I chose vanilla. I could have chose chocolate. I chose to go out to the store, but I could have stayed home. Those kinds of choices, the idea that we are freely agents making those choices ourselves, has been debunked for around 150 years by philosophers, and the latest developments in neuroscience demonstrate that that's actually not how our choices are made. We actually don't know why we choose what we choose. It happens as a systematic process called determinism. In other words, everything in their universe has a cause that came before it that causes the next thing. So I don't know why all of the reasons and all of the calculations as to why I chose chocolate, but no matter what, if I go in the future and then I wind back the clock, I'm going to choose chocolate 100 times out of 100. As long as my genes were the same, my environment was the same, and my attitude was the same, I will always choose chocolate in that situation. Given the same set of circumstances. So that's my philosophical belief, is that we don't have free actions and free choices. So I spend a lot of time on my show evaluating certain systems of incentives. And by the way, The people who also know that we don't have free will are the people who run social media companies. It's why they're super successful. It's because they know how to manipulate people's motivations by using certain tactics. It's the reason the like button exists. It's the reason why endless scrolling was invented. It's because they know you're powerless to resist its temptation.
So you think that no matter what happens, your genes have so hold on. So when I bought my car, when I bought my Camaro, and I had the choice to buy a different car, I could have bought an older Corvette. It was in my genes to buy the Camaro. Is what you're saying.
Not just your genes, but like the reason why you bought your Camaro, you might have told yourself a story afterwards, right? It was a better deal. It was the right mileage. I trusted the seller more.
I know exactly why I bought it.
Okay, so why do you think you bought it?
Why do I think I bought it? Because I came there expecting to buy a C5 Corvette, and they had a fucking 5th-gen Camaro with no motor and no transmission, right for the picking. That thing is way more stable at 200 miles an hour.
Okay, so in other words, for your practical purposes, you identified that, right?
Yeah, that ain't genes.
No, it's not genes. It's your cognitive ability. But what determines your cognitive ability? Your genes.
I don't know, man. My genes?
Yes. My point is
my
if you go back far enough in someone's past, every decision, everything that we experience or do has a prior cause. And if you just keep running that backwards, you can go all the way back to your birth. Why were you even in the position to make that choice at all? Why aren't you in some hellhole, war-torn country right now? You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose your genes. You didn't choose your upbringing. You didn't choose to move whenever you move. Down the line, our lives... No.
I ran the fuck away and I raised myself. Yeah, fuck if I didn't. Till the police arrested me and put my ass in motherfucking juvenile detention, son. I didn't want to be around a cokehead or an alcoholic.
So you think that everyone else who's got a cokehead and alcoholic parent could also just make the same choice as you, right? They could run away.
I think there are a lot of people that I know of right now that came from addicted parents that are into various things. Again, like I spent a lot of time in Fort Dodge, so pretty much everyone there is a product of fucking drug abuse. And there's people up there that build fucking electric cars to see how far they can get on the least amount of juice. And there's people that fucking build the fastest cars that they can build with the finest parts they can get from Summit Racing and everything in between. There's people that do all kinds of stuff that came from drug addicted parents. I don't think any of that came from genes. I think more of that stemmed from environment. I would say that environment is far more of a factor than genes.
Yes, but you don't choose your environment either, and that's the point. That you might be right. Okay, I'm not making an argument about whether or not genes and environment, which one has more of an effect. What I'm saying is, for you to have freely chosen it, to just be totally free to choose whatever the hell you want, you would have to have a superpower that you don't have, and that has been demonstrated by neuroscience and a bunch of other things. So, that's something that, honestly, I think we could leave.
If you get old enough to develop your own thoughts and everything, then that's just your genes that are telling you how to live your life, which is why people that are from virtually the same situation ends up in virtually vastly different spots.
It's actually not true. And the reason we know that that's not true is they've done studies where identical twins were raised apart. And it actually turns out that after we look at this adopted twin over here and this adopted twin over here, they meet up later in life, and we do a study like this, and we find out that the 19-year-old versions of them, despite having vastly different childhoods, turn out to be almost identical in terms of IQ, aptitude, like a number of different things. Obviously, their individual circumstances of their life will be different, but you'd be amazed that having identical DNA actually makes so much very similar. And we've done these twin studies.
That's a universal study. That's not like like 10 sets of twins that just have been freakishly found. Like that's consistent, right? Like if they found two twins that were like no matter what, if they were raised in those same circumstances, that would be it. That's
There were hundreds of participants in this study.
hundreds of participants. And who placed this study?
PhD social psychologists.
That provides nothing in the way of who it was.
I don't know their names off the top of my head. Okay, like these are well-known studies that have actually been used to demonstrate a ton of other things in social psychology. In fact, these particular studies completely redefined an entire branch of science. They're pretty well-known findings. Like I could give you about a half a dozen books that reference them. They've been used in all kinds of things.
And
my girlfriend is telling me that so there's a document.
Hold up. You got a fucking fake Joe Rogan in the background with this shit?
No. She remembered that.
Oh my God.
No, she just remembered that there was a Netflix. She just remembered that there was a Netflix documentary about it.
I don't have my secretary here.
First thing she's brought up, okay? She just wanted to come here for the fireworks. Also, hold on, I have to address chat. Whoever you are, last ill percenters, eugenics is Nazism. Nothing of what I just said is eugenics. You're a complete idiot if that's what you think. I'm sorry. I could just dismiss that on its face. Nothing of what I said is eugenics. What I talked about was genetics. That's a little different. So take that shit out of here.
Back to the reason why I came here was literally the meme that started all of this.
What I'm trying to get you to realize is I think the whole reason why we disagree, Matt, for the rest of the meme is you think people could just do otherwise, and I know that they can't. I know that this does not come down to just make better choices. Like, do you really think the decline of everybody's relationships is just because people are genetics is not Nazism? Get the fuck out of my chat, bitch. Anyway, do you think people are just choosing to be in toxic relationships for the fuck of it because they like it, because they want them?
No, I think culture has described a lot of bullshit and people thinking that it's healthy, which is why you end up with a lot of people in situationships where they end up with a guy who's like, I want to be with you, and he's like, yeah, I want to be with you, but he's fucking 45 other women.
That's not no, that okay. I was with you 90%. Culture has made people think there is an ideal. Agreed. The thing that I'm calling that is the toxic monogamous culture. That's my name for a certain set of ideas. So if you want to keep going through them, you're right. But all of these ideas are embedded in the culture. It's not because people love to get into toxic relationships. It's because they start to believe that these given propositions are true, and obviously these propositions are toxic. So if you want to keep reading them, we can, but you literally just made my point.
Okay. So the normalization of jealousy, I already said that'd be a toxic person. Like, jealousy is natural, but to a certain level, you know.
Okay, can I ask you about that though? Can I ask you about that one, that first one?
Yeah.
Do you not think the average, understand I'm talking, when I do my show, I'm talking to the average typical person that isn't already thinking about this. It actually sounds to me, and I want to give you some fair credit here, that you've thought about this more critically than most people our age, which is good. I'm glad that you've done that. But you don't think most people have normalized the idea that jealousy means love? Like, you don't think that that's a thing that, like, most people think?
I don't think the younger generation has ever had to deal with anything because of social media. I think social media is a vastly larger problem.
Okay, but do you think... Okay, so do you think social media has normalized the idea that jealousy means love? It's an indicator of more love. Yo, if you got a guy who's like fawning over you and doesn't want you to do this or do that...
Childish ass women are the ones that keep jealousy as an indicator of love. For like... Don't get me wrong, like, I get jealous, like, when I'm with my girl and I turn around and I see a dude checking her ass out. Yeah, I get a little bit jealous. I still feel good on the inside because I'm the one that gets to take it home, right? Like, I still feel jealousy, just like I'm sure there's times where you have felt jealousy with your wife, and don't tell me you haven't, because that would
Of
be
course I have.
I know
I've admitted that on this show a dozen times. I get jealous all the time, but I don't think that's her problem. I think it's my problem.
agreed 100%, which makes it a personal, like, that's a toxic person. Like, I'm not saying you're toxic. That would be a toxic trait within a person.
Well, but no, it's actually an evolved trait that was designed to get us to do certain behaviors. Like, we have jealousy for a reason. It's an evolutionary trait.
Oh my god. But
But
if
you don't know how to deal with it.
and if you get jealous because of whatever reason, and you haul off and you beat the fuck out of your wife, not saying you ever would.
That's toxic.
I'm just saying that happened.
Yeah, that would be toxic. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So jealousy, yes, it is natural. It's gonna happen to a certain extent. If you let it consume you, if you take it if you take it into action, you've taken it too far.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think there's a single case of jealousy that's actually trying to do anything correct for you? Do you think jealousy is actually helping you get what you want when it comes to close personal relationships? And we don't even have to limit it to romantic ones, right? We could talk about friends, we could talk about whatever. Family.
Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely, dude. I am absolutely 100%. I'm jealous as fuck of my Aunt Becky and Uncle Randy. I wish I could make half as much money as they do a year. And I follow their business model very strictly through my own business. And since I have, I got jealous. I seen they were doing good. Like their family. Like, I never looked down on them. I never talked bad about them. I never hoped they did any worse than they did. But because I seen they were doing so good and they were doing so much better than me, I decided that I would follow them a little closer and I would watch them a little closer, and I utilized their business plan within my own business. I learned that I can't just
Okay.
be a one-sided mechanic.
I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy. But so here's my follow-up. I agree that that's actually what jealousy is trying to do for us. It's trying to take situations where we see something that somebody else has, an ideal, and it gives us motivation to work towards it, right? If I see somebody who's really fucking good at a video game, this is my nerd-ass example, okay? I go, I want to do that. Liam's been in the chat tonight. Yeah.
GTA, like my ass beat by an 8-year-old.
Yeah, and you're like, fucking, I want to be that good. So then you work towards it. Okay, that's a healthy use of jealousy. How does that apply to romantic relationships ever? In any situation, when is the jealousy good for you? And really think about that. Because what a lot of people think...
I got you covered. Before I lose this, because I'm stoned, you know this. All right, man. So, like, a few years ago, me and my old lady, we went through some shit, right? And we broke up for a while, all right? And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I knew she wanted to be with me, and I knew I wanted to be with her. She broke up with me because I was fucking up. I wasn't literally providing absolutely nothing that I should have provided to the house other than helping her with the bills. I wasn't coming home and cleaning. I wasn't really helping with the kids. I was just kind of being a bump on the fucking log. So I fully understand why she did what she did. And I seen her on a date with somebody else, and I got jealous as fuck. And once that whole relationship fell apart, man, like, I realized what I wanted, and I took the necessary steps to get to where I wanted to be.
But that's not jealousy.
I was jealous as fuck that somebody else had my fucking woman's hand in their hand. I was jealous as fuck.
But no. See, but that's not.
There was no point to be angry. She wasn't with me. We weren't in a relationship. So if I would have been angry, I would have just been looking like a fucking ass.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is the jealousy wasn't what you recognized as healthy. What was healthy was self-reflection, evaluating whether or not one was doing what they needed to maintain a relationship, right? None of that requires jealousy. You can do all of that without getting jealous.
I figured all that out about 20 months before me and her ended up back together.
But my point is jealousy, any kind of jealousy is not required.
It wasn't self-reflection. No, you're right. Absolutely. There wasn't. But the jealousy is what really set into motion that, like, if I don't go after what it is that I want, it may not be there when, you know what I mean? So, yeah, jealousy served me in a very proper fashion at that time.
Yeah.
We recently bought a house
together.
And she could have definitely done it without me.
So that's not the indicator of love case of jealousy. That is, I'm jealous because here's a relationship with somebody who's, somebody I love, my best friend, whatever, and I fucked up and I know it, and now somebody else who didn't put the work in necessarily that I did, but they did enough right now more recently when I was fucking up, and so now they've got something that I really should have had and I shouldn't have fucked up. Like, that's different completely than what people mean by jealousy as an indicator of love. The average person who's doing jealousy as an indicator of love is literally like, yo, if he's not like kissing your feet and like obsessing over you, you don't need him, get another man. I see those memes from women's social media all the time. They think that they should be treated like princess goddesses, and that
I agree 100%, and that's
toxic as fuck.
Okay, that's part of the monogamy culture.
But is it though? Because like I see more of this toxic shit revolving more based around the OnlyFans, which I don't really tie with monogamy. I kind of tie that with like promiscuous ass behavior.
No, dude, the whole reason why people think that. Why does a woman come to the conclusion I deserve treatment far and above every other person I know in like this abnormal way? Like, how does somebody come to that egotistical kind of perspective that they think they're special and deserve special treatment when it comes to romantic relationships?
Is there shit that you do? So you're in an open relationship, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so is there shit that you do for your wife that you don't do for other people?
Yes, but
all right.
But
there's no but.
No. That's honestly, would I? It's not.
Well, how dare your wife expect you guys to have something special between you?
Actually, no. That is so funny because that's been an argument that we have had. I think she has no business expecting there to be something special between us.
Well, that kind of signifies a relationship. It doesn't necessarily you got to be monogamous, but like.
No, it doesn't.
It
sure does not. Why? Why did we normalize that?
So hold on. You don't think that spending time with somebody? So hold on. When me and my ex were broke up, there was this girl who I would go over and I'd just bang out a couple times a week. You know what I'm saying? And like. Keep it moving. There was other girls too, but there was one in particular, right? So like, by your standards, would that have been a relationship? Because we talked almost every day.
Yes,
we didn't see each other.
It is a relationship. You just didn't call it that. You just didn't say the magic words. But of course you have a relationship at that point.
Why? Because we had sex?
Okay, so this is another thing I talk about in my first episode. We think that relationship is whenever we say the magic words of relationship. And that's part of the self-deception, man. Like, that's not true. You have certain little commitments in a situation like that so that you can keep getting the benefits. You're just not being honest with yourself intellectually about what those commitments are.
So,
any relationship where you've started to, like, do a pattern of behavior so you can keep getting the benefits of whatever it is you're doing with this other person. I don't care if it's a friend. Dude, okay, so if I go down the street and every 2 weeks I bring by a fucking, a quarter for my homie that hooks me up with something else. I don't know, whatever. Like, maybe he's got a hookup on some good donuts. I like donuts. Okay? I have a sort of regular thing with him. We have a mutual commitment. We're doing this thing. We get into a rhythm. We're meeting each other all the time. What other word for that is there other than we have a relationship?
Friendship.
Friendship is a kind of relationship.
Yeah, we're getting in. So you're just gonna use a blanket term for everything?
I think that you would have a harder time explaining exactly what special property makes romantic relationships. This was actually in my first episode as well, which is why I say people don't understand my ideas because they've never actually watched this shit, okay? I think you would have a really hard time coming up with a definition as to what makes these other types of relationships you're referring to special. there's not a property, there's not a single property that makes a relationship between you and your woman special and different than any other relationship. I hate to burst people's bubbles out there, but that does not exist. You spend more time together, you probably fuck, you might not do that with your other friends, right? Like, there are some things that you do with this person, but all that means is you just have a very close friendship. There's no property to it where you go, that's the romantic partnership chemical. That's the romantic partnership element. There's no one specific thing that separates that kind of a relationship from every other friend that you have.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
What's the thing then? I mean, I would love to know what this thing is that you have that I don't.
Outside of fucking?
Yes, because clearly you can fuck people and not have that with them, as you just described.
Yeah, so, for example, the girl that I would just meet up with and hook up with, that was what it was. Just meet up. I'd hook up with her. Like, there really wasn't any feeling there whatsoever. Like, when I decided to call it, she was like, oh, that's some good dick out the window. That fucking sucks. But, like, with the wife, you do stuff, you know, you go on little date nights, you do the stupid little shit that makes them happy, you know, you get that feeling with them. Like, you can't I'm not gonna do the same shit with you that I'm gonna do with my best friend Tyler. Me and him every single night we play, not every single night, I guess most nights we play GTA 5 online. We get down. I play the fuck out of some arena wars, man.
Okay, but
Me and him talk almost more than my wife. So would you say that, like, if me and my wife just decided that we weren't gonna fuck, that me and him would be in more of a relationship than me and her?
no, I think you already are. And that's the whole, like, red pill that I offer in my videos, is I try to point out that in terms of, like, what you have in terms of long-term stability of relationships, a lot of times people think they have it in their current partner and they don't. I don't mean to be mean, but, like, people think that they have this situation, and what they don't realize is that they have this kind of agreement, but there's no there. Like, if you look underneath of it, there's no special sauce other than pressure from the outside and toxic monogamy keeping you guys doing these regular things. There's probably stuff you're doing right now and she's doing right now that you don't even want to do for each other. But you do it because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what I'm talking about. I set out to live a life where I never had to do a single thing that I didn't want to do anymore. I was tired of my autonomy being violated. I was tired of other people based on some other model. What's that?
Pause for the cause. So you have children, correct?
Yes.
Your autonomy's gone, bro.
Agreed.
I got 2 kids myself, you don't have any fucking control over your life. And I don't give a fuck if they turn 18 and you still don't have control over your life, man. Like, your autonomy's gone. So, like, what about when your kid turns 18? What makes them so much different? Is it because it's part of your DNA?
No.
Is it part of your DNA?
What makes that an unconditional love in your eyes? Because I would assume you seem like a pretty level-headed guy. I don't think you would be the type of person that would just be like, fuck them kids, and just walk away and never talk to your kids again. I don't think you would be that person. I choose to not believe you would be that person.
No, and everybody who knows me knows I wouldn't. But my kids actually sometimes respect my autonomy a lot more than people's romantic partners do. Because kids actually fundamentally understand that other people deserve their own space, their own time, and can do whatever the hell they want to do. It's when we become adults that we start thinking we can take advantage of each other and not do that. So while to some degree I agree with you, I have to give up some of my resources for my kids, right? But that's not socially enforced on me. I want to do that biologically. Like, I have a biological...
Biologically, you won't have to do it till they're 18. And then they're...
No, sorry. That's the rule of society. The biological impulse is the reason why we do it for longer than when our kids are 18. And it's actually why we think something is fucked up, like what happened with me, where my parents suddenly just decided when I was 18 that good luck, you're on your own, bucko, right? Like, the thing that we disrespect in that is because we know someone has decided to usurp their biological impulse to take care of their children. So biologically, I want to do that. So my autonomy is not being violated because I'm doing what I want to do when I give up certain resources for my kids. But I don't give up all of them. And there are times when I tell my kids, yo, dad needs an hour. I need y'all to just play on your phone or do something and go chill in there, right?
I feel that, bro. I feel that.
Yeah, like, and so and my kids will respect that sometimes more than people will in a romantic partnership these days. Why will they do that? Because they fundamentally know how much it sucks to have their own autonomy violated.
So what you're saying is that, like, once your kids turn, like, well, no, so once your kids are over 18 and you're not bound by the law to take care of your children or to either take care of them or sign them away. Once they're of age, right? They're 30 years old. I don't know how old you'll be when your kids are 30 years old, but you'll be getting up there because I know I'll be getting up there when my kids are 30.
Hope I make it that long.
You're not gonna want to get out of that chair. Your fucking kid calls you, hey, can you come help me? I don't know. Can you help me build my new computer? I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I don't know what your hobbies are. You know, so that's just like my random.
That was a good guess. No, that was a good guess.
Put that down, bro. You're about to watch the Colts game, bro, and they need your fucking help. What you gonna do, man? Like you don't want to not watch that game.
I think you should.
Your autonomy is about to be violated, right?
Well, but
at what point does it change?
I'll explain. I'll explain. At that point, if I say, you know what, kiddo, I don't have time today. I might have some time later down the road, but I'm not feeling up to it today. You know, I'm already kind of kick back lazy mode. If they then start to use blackmail against me to try and get me to do it anyway, that's when my autonomy would become violated. And I think that's what we do in a lot of romantic partnerships. We say, if you talk to Jessica any longer, I'm going to kick you out, blah, 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 blah. Like, we have all of these little hidden and unspoken caveats that say, if you do X, that's exactly what I mean by this enforcement mechanism. And it's socially enforced because other people, if your girl says, no, listen, I told him he's not allowed to talk to Jessa anymore, all of her girlfriends are going to be like, yeah, bro, if she says that, you just got to respect it, period. Fucking why? Why?
So, you're in an open relationship and you don't want your autonomy violated. So there's absolutely nothing that's off the table for you then.
That's correct. I don't think I have a single right to place a single restriction on any other adult's behavior. I just don't have that right, and I don't know where I would get that right from. We have come to it.
So, if you came home and your wife was getting Piper Parried, you'd be cool.
Yes. Is it that hard to believe? Yes. Do I think my immediate reaction emotionally would be cool? No, because I'm a human being. But do I think I would have any right to say anything? That's her choice. No. Now, I might have to have this conversation with her and be like, hey, I might need a heads up. Or like there's going to be some discussion about how to make sure that neither of us have to feel uncomfortable. But no, she has a right to do that. Now, if she
make that choice to talk to her about it, right?
I would absolutely have a healthy conversation with her, yes.
You would make that choice? So that would that be by your genes? Like, would your genes have made that choice for you? Or would you have made that choice for you?
Okay, if you want to go back to the determinism thing, I genuinely mean no offense when I say this. I think you understand by now, Matt. You understand. I think you have good points. I have good points. But free will is fucking complicated. And there are people who have written entire books about this in the domain of philosophy. Okay?
It was simple when you were asking me a question. It's complicated.
No, I wanted to get a general sense of what you currently thought. I had a suspicion, but I wanted to be sure. But what you're asking me is not so simple. It's not as simple as my genes. in my environment because of my life circumstances. I don't know why it fucking happened, okay? The first answer is I have no idea why I came up with this idea called the sweet spot model of relationships. I have no idea why I thought about it long enough critically to realize, but I did. I'm the one who did. I don't know why. I had a lot of trauma in a lot of different situations. I had a toxic-ass narcissistic ex. I think that had a lot to do with it. I had narcissistic parents, and I think that had a lot to do with it. I spent my whole life having my autonomy violated. And then I thought, I never want to make somebody else feel the way these people made me feel. And so I tried to figure out what justifications could I possibly have on restricting somebody else's behavior. And when I realized that not very much meets that standard, in fact, almost nothing meets that standard, then I realized that I had to give up on some things that I held dear to me. But I held them dear because they were emotional responses, like not wanting to watch my wife get Piper Parried, as you so kindly put it.
So, are you in a romantic relationship with your wife?
Yes.
What makes it romantic?
Romantic is just whenever you have a relationship which expresses love. So while I have a romantic relationship with my wife, I also have one with my kids. I have one with Liam and Chat. I have one with Essie. I have one with all kinds of different people.
You would call those romantic relationships?
Yes, I don't think that. So when anybody thinks they can only have one exclusive romantic relationship,
like that right there is like questionable. Like if you use the raw definition of that shit.
No, the raw definition, yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with you. It's just any relationship where you express love. If you don't express love for your kids, like, you're doing it wrong. You're adding sexual into romantic. I can already tell based on what you just said.
Hold on.
Why are my strings so
fucking bad?
Romantic love is a feeling of love for or strong attraction toward another person, and the courtship behavior is undertaken by an individual to express those feelings and resultant emotions. Courtship. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to use that term when I refer to the fact that...
Hold on, that's not the...
family, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but that's not the definition.
Huh?
That's not the definition. I don't know where you got that, but like the strict definition is just conductive to or characterized by the expression of love. Like that, whatever you just described is a lot more than what the actual definition of romantic is. Here's one.
Sorry, I googled romantic love.
Yeah. Sorry. So when you say romantic, you just mean anything where love is expressed. So in other words, I don't have a romantic relationship with my barista.
I don't have a romantic relationship with Pizzetti, but I tell him I love him every time I get off the phone.
No, that is a romantic. That's expressing love. That's a romantic relationship.
No.
Not. Do you not agree?
I don't know, dude. I don't understand how you're getting to the... So I have a romantic relationship with my brother. I wish my brother could get on here right now, man.
Yes, you do. If you express love to that person, okay? Dude, have you seen that cake, though? I had a romantic relationship with my barista on site. Liam. Liam's got it for the barista. Where's she at? She in fucking Cheyenne? You got a little sweet barista in Cheyenne you sweet on? What's up, dude?
Is he high shit, too?
I'm sure he is. It's fucking like 1 a.m. If Liam's not high, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so, here's the thing. At some point, we decided that we wanted to classify these certain relationships. And you're actually coming to the crux of it. This thing that I discovered, Matt, and I'm glad we've had this chat, because what I came to it what I came to is that why do we feel like we have to put certain relationships in the special box we call romantic, right? Shouldn't we be able to express love in all the ways that are healthy and normal, right? I should not have a sexual relationship with my children. That's obvious. I should have a romantic relationship with my children where I express love to them, right? In the ways that are appropriate. Now, I have daughters that are now all 9 through 12, so what's appropriate when they were 5 is not now appropriate now, right? Like, I'm obviously reasonable about that. But I definitely shouldn't just be giving them the cold shoulder and only talk to them when I, like, wake them up to tell them, you didn't clean your room, Dad's disappointed in you. Of course not. I should have romantic, like, expressions of love to them so that they know and feel loved by their father. Should I not?
I feel like you're using the term romantic very, very broadly, a little too broadly.
Okay,
And
so
I feel like
because you want to restrict the idea to what you're calling long-term established relationships that rise to the level of having a sexual relationship with a sexual partner, and the romance is added together with that. But my point is when you do that, you're what's doing what we call intuition pumping. You're smuggling certain intuitions into a concept and certain norms and certain beliefs into this idea, right? And you're not being honest about it and intellectually honest with yourself about it. What's special about your relationship? What property is it? What is the thing that makes you and your wife different than all your other relationships? I got news for you. It's going to be hard for you to answer that question because I don't think the answer exists.
holy shit, dude. I need helmet and crayons.
Did you say I need a helmet and crayons?
I said I need to get a helmet and crayons.
For me or you?
That was a reference for you, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. I'll take it.
I don't understand why you're taking everything from the other boxes and trying to fit it within the romance box, as you have so eloquently put it. For example, you can't put everything in the romance because you show a little bit of love. Like,
And you don't think that maybe your special attachment to this situation might be a product itself of toxic monogamy, and you might be guilty of that? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
no, not even a little bit.
Okay, well, so again,
What it sounds like is why are you trying? Why do you take things, right? Like, how do you take a friendship, right? Like, ask any normal motherfucker. All right, normal person. If my neighbor was awake, I'd go knock on his door right now and ask him if he's romantic with any of his friends from his football team because he used to play for Iowa.
they look more romantic than a lot of me and my friends. They slap each other's asses. They get pretty close in the locker room. I'm just saying, there's a lot more love there.
Every single one of those motherfuckers is going to tell you no.
Of course not, because we have made it a taboo to ever do anything that might be foreseen as gay. So all you're doing.
Like 10 years have been all about LGBTQ movements. I don't think it's taboo to be gay anymore.
Yeah, but dudes still don't want to be gay. I'm sorry. I still know plenty of guys that I don't want to be seen as romantic with my boys. In other cultures, Asian young boys, like 19-year-olds, they'll kiss each other when they're in wanting to express affection to each other because they don't have our homophobic ass culture.
I think we're a lot.
Liam says, yeah, kind of gay.
It sounds kind of gay, yeah.
Oh, god damn it, Liam. So, but the whole point I'm trying to get at, though, like, regardless of what you want to call it, okay, if you want to call your relationship with your spouse something special and different than every other relationship, don't you think you should have to point to something that only you and that person could do that you wouldn't do in any other kind of relationship? Wouldn't you have to have something special that like no other property, like no other relationship would ever have that property to it? Like, shouldn't there be something like differentiating it? Like, so in other words, if somebody not from our culture came to our culture and was like, explain you two and what's the difference between you two and them two, and you would have to like come up with what that thing is, but I don't think you can come up with what that thing is, because if you say sex, I'm just going to point out to the last, I don't know, 20 years of hookup culture as obvious proof, and the type of relationship you described earlier as also obvious proof that it's not the sex.
But showing love is romantic. Like that's what constitutes a romantic relationship.
I think
So
that
relationship with my cat.
absolutely, why not? You're not in a sexual relationship with your cat, because that would be bestiality and would be wrong. But if somebody has a cat and they're not romantic to it, we call them psychopathic or sociopathic. We think there's something wrong with their mind. Like in the thing that makes you,
and it's based on romantic love, right?
This is the idea. One of the ways that you can psychologically identify a psychopath is they don't have the ability to express love to other conscious beings. That includes cats, dogs, whatever. Like, so if you have somebody who maybe they're not as good at doing it with humans, but they at least show affection and love.
Romantic love, though, right?
The term romantic literally just means to express love. Having expressions of love. That's all the word means. The reason why you're juicing it up with special sauce is a product of toxic monogamy culture. We put extra juice behind the word romantic to make it seem special and exclusive, so that way we could also then put it in a box and tell somebody, if you dare do that with anybody else, I'm going to kick your ass out. Like, that is the whole point.
No. Oh, fuck me. Jesus.
Liam, I have no idea who Shane Dawson is.
You're taking romantic and you're trying to like spread it over everything, and like that is where we're at an impasse. You can't.
I just gave you examples where it doesn't apply. I do not have a romantic relationship with my barista. I might want to, but I don't have one.
Oh my fucking god, dude.
I also don't have a romantic relationship with my mechanic. I don't have a romantic but like literally what we mean when we say friend is somebody that we're closer to than our barista and our mechanic. Somebody who we express love to occasionally. That's what we mean. And there are different degrees.
We have a different relationship with, because it's a different style of a relationship, correct?
Yes.
You can't call something and not acknowledge that it's different than something else that you're bringing up.
Well, we can categorize.
How is a friendship different than a romantic relationship? Do you not show love to your friends? Do you not give them hugs? Do you not dap them up when you see them?
Of course I do.
If you see your homeboy Liam, would you buy him a fucking beer? Are you romantic with Liam?
Yes.
What the fuck, dude? Like, this isn't a difficult concept. Like,
okay, I agree. So show me what's different about your wife or long-term partner.
There's different levels. I just clarified that.
It's a different level.
So, what's different between a friendship and a romantic relationship?
In my view, nothing.
You're saying there's no close friends. You're leaving no room for a friend zone whatsoever. So what's a friendship?
That's a made-up word? That's because the friend zone is an artificial product of toxic monogamy. The reason why women feel like they have to friend zone certain guys is because they don't like that guy.
I didn't mean to use the friend zone in terminology
of like I'm being friend zoned. I mean, like, where is the fucking line where it's like, all right, I'm in a friendship with you versus I'm romantic with you.
I don't believe there is one. And I know that you do. And I'm trying to... You're the one who says this thing exists, that there is a line. And you think you probably have it with your one singular monogamous romantic partner. And my point is the onus is on you to demonstrate where the line is, not me, because I don't think there is one. I think that line has never existed. We made it up so that we could put restrictions on other people's behavior and justify it.
So you think the terminology friendship was used to essentially control people?
Not friendship. The terminology of relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, partner, lover, that one got created to...
Once that's introduced, that's when friends no longer existed?
That's when we started thinking that we could justify putting restrictions on somebody else's behavior, and we were justified in doing it because they agreed to be our romantic partner, whatever we call that thing. So no, you're not just my friend anymore. Now you're somebody I can control.
That's toxic.
Yes, but
that's a toxic relationship. That's a toxic trait within a fucking person. That can happen with
anybody. It's a toxic trait within a person.
Except for the fact that it happens almost every single time with monogamy, which has been my point.
It doesn't matter how many times it fucking happens.
It's still a toxic trait within a fucking person.
You agree with me, and I don't know what you're disagreeing with then, Matt, because literally my whole point is yes, that's a toxic thing.
It's monogamy culture, and it's just toxic fucking sex culture. You're phrasing it like retarded as fuck.
Okay, so what is it that you're trying to save when you're trying to save monogamy? What do you want to be able to what do you want right now? If your wife said, "Listen, I want to sleep with other dudes,"
we out.
Okay, so you're going to end their partnership.
Yeah.
Okay, and why do you think you can...
When we were dating, right?
So now you need to prove to me why that's not toxic.
I'm not going to bang your friends, don't bang my friends. That was a mutually agreed upon thing.
Disagree. Yes, it is. I've demonstrated all the ways. Why do you think you get the justification to say that to somebody? Only because society has made that normalized. The only reason why society normalized that.
She was justified to say the same fucking thing to me. It was an agreement in the fucking relationship.
Mutually agreeing to exploit each other is not the same thing. There's a lot of...
I'm not exploiting each other. I'm not selling her feet pics to a fucking Korean dude. We're in a fucking relationship.
It's exploiting because what if she decided that... What if a year in... Here's the thing that you're not taking into consideration. You can't know what your future self will want.
Then you terminate the relationship and keep it moving if that's where you're at. People that stay in relationships like that, this goes back to that meme. The children is the reason you... If you're staying in it for the children, bro, you're a fucking moron. You're a fucking idiot. You're staying in it for the wrong fucking reasons.
Okay.
I think more people are in toxic relationships on a financial basis than anything else. And I think women fall victim to that far more than fucking men.
Agreed, but that's not what I'm talking about.
There's literally TikTokers out there that are like, hell yeah, let's fucking like make videos about how the fuck I ain't paid rent in fucking 3 years because I'm bouncing from hose couch to hose couch.
Okay.
And this is them wanting attention. When you find people like that are insecure enough, that's, oh, I need the attention.
I think you're so insecure that the moment that your wife decides she wants to sleep with somebody else, you think it's a reason to destroy years and years of goodwill. You have a best friend that you're willing to drop based on one decision that she's probably eventually going to want to do by the statistics
I said I would drop her. We just wouldn't be in a relationship. I'm not going to completely write her out of my life, but we're not going to be in a relationship anymore.
Okay.
We're not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, so what does that mean, by the way, boyfriend, girlfriend?
That you're in an exclusive relationship with each other.
Uh-huh.
You're in an exclusive, intimate relationship with each other.
And what reason would any reasonable... Okay, so can we acknowledge the fact that human beings are non-monogamous biologically? Could you at least agree with that piece? Like, we're clearly wired to be promiscuous, biologically speaking.
I'll give you that.
Okay, so why would you give up access to wanting to do the thing that you're biologically wired to do? What is it that you think you get in return? Why do you enter in a relationship where you're going to say, I'm going to deny myself my ability to be promiscuous and put myself out there and get whatever kind of, pussy or dick I want, and I'm going to give that up? Why do you think you have to give that up just to get something else? And what is the something else you think you're getting? And I'll just tell you what I think it is you think that that's what you have to give up to get a secure long-term partner. That's the idea that commitment is exclusive or is synonymous with exclusivity. The only way you can get a committed partner is if you both give up your ability to open shop the market, sexually speaking. When it becomes mutual, and you will find this from me and everybody else in open relationships, you don't give up. In fact, I don't think I've ever been more committed to my wife than I am now. And she slept with other people, and I've slept with other people. We've been doing it for years.
Can we openly acknowledge the fact that open relationships fail at a fucking higher rate? Like, statistically speaking.
You're wrong. No, we can't acknowledge that because you're wrong. And I don't know why you think you're right about this, but you're literally wrong. I don't know where you got this from, but it's not correct. It actually is illusory. It can't be measured. Because most open relationships are done underground, away from any kind of measurable statistic.
Oh, so it's just the ones that we know about that are okay.
Correct, because most people can't be honest.
It's the unproven statistics we got to look at.
Yes, not only that, it's not very clear when open relationships. It's not very clear when open relationships begin and or end. They're not people. The only reason why we know when other relationships end is because you have to go get a legal fucking piece of paper.
Continue.
In open relationships, I know examples of people who are in successful open relationships where sometimes they're together for only 3 months of the year, and then somebody works on the road. What's that?
Are they part of the ghost statistic?
I don't know what that means.
The statistic that you can't find, that doesn't exist. It's the hidden people.
I don't know if you're saying this as an attempted dig on me, or that somehow I'm skirting the issue. Do you not think that there's a bunch of people that are practicing non-monogamy that don't show up in statistics?
I think there is a lot of problems with all statistics in general.
Well, but marriage statistics are pretty good. We know those, and we know divorce statistics pretty well because they're censused, right? So they're being taken in an official way. My point is what's often done is people take survey statistics about people in open relationships and compare them to the marriage statistics when that's just not fair. There are statistics that show that 90% right now, 90% of all relationships of people in their 20s fail. That's survey respondents. So, you can say, aren't open relationships, way worse than non? I don't know. 90%'s a bad number no matter how you slice it. I don't care if that was the open relationships or the closed ones. If 90% of people aren't figuring out in their 20s, clearly we need to figure something better out. Would you agree with that?
No.
Oh, actually. I'm surprised by that. You seem to be in favor of people need to have long-term relationships based on our previous conversation.
No, see, that's the point. No, dude. That you don't need a long-term relationship. If you need justification and vindication from other people on your actions, your choices, your thoughts, everything else, you're a weak-minded motherfucker, bro. You don't need long-term anything. It's desired. I'll give you that. It's desired. Needed? Required? That's
okay.
Pretty aggressive. And as far as having shit figured out
by the time you're 20, fuck that.
No. Sorry, your entire 20s. No, Matt. It's for your entire 20s, so that means until you're 30.
Having everything figured out by the time you're 30. Fuck that, dude.
No one said
have a good portion of your life. You should have a good portion of your life, like map the fuck out. But like again,
if you are relying on a relationship, you are the toxic one. If you're relying on a relationship, I had a whole fucking plan mapped out.
Your whole argument is you just in front of everybody, you just completely demonstrated the giant flaw in your argument. Because exactly what you just said would result in disastrous consequences for rearing children. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to avoid with my model, is disastrous consequences for rearing children. If you think it's acceptable to have a statistic that 90% of people fail their relationships in their 20s, which is arguably when they should be having children, from 25 to 30, not before 25, but definitely from 25 to 30. The older you get, the more risky it becomes that you're not going to live to take care of your child to maturity. And I think that's problematic. Okay? So, ideally, in the prime time to have children from 25 to 30, you should definitely start to have your long-term social standing figured out. You should feel comfortable in your village. You should have people around you that you can count on for the next 10 years. So
that goes to exactly me and you were talking about earlier. You should have it socially figured out. You should have people in your village. And if you're getting shitty social pressure from your social circle, then you fucked up and you got shitty people in your circle.
And why is but okay. So, but you're just kicking. I agree with you. My point is what's making them shitty? I'm actually trying to solve this problem, and you're willing to just be like, well, you should have had better people. Sucks to be you. Good luck, bucko. I'm a little more compassionate than that.
Save compassion for your kids, dog. The world is not compassionate, bro. The world doesn't have space for that shit.
You just demonstrated to my entire stream, and I'm going to end this here, why I'm, like, I don't even have anything else to say. I'm just going to take the W.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think if you're that jaded and you think people are undeserving of compassion, you and I fundamentally are operating from different ethical axioms. I think every single person on this world... No, listen to me. Every single person in this planet deserves deep, meaningful relationships and love and compassion. And I'm not going to save it for my kids. I'm not going to save it for anybody. If I have it to give, I'm going to give it freely because they deserve it. And that might be the difference between me and you. Well, then fucking damn it, I'm proud of that difference, buddy.
Well, now, I'm going to agree with you to a certain extent. I think pedophiles, rapists, women beaters, I think they should be strung out to die. I don't think that they should receive...
Okay, but that's like less than 1/2 of 1% of people, dude. Like, this is the problem of, like, social media, to your point. These people are not everywhere.
What are you referring to as compassion? Do I need to, like, stop and give, like, a homeless dude a handy? Or, like, give a homeless dude, like, $1? Like, what are you referring to as compassion?
How about look him in the eyes and tell him he's worth something, and then it's not his fault that he's in this situation? Yeah, that's compassion.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I hand out cash to the homeless all the fucking time. I talk to him. I bought a dude a pack of cigarettes literally earlier today. Probably not the best thing to buy for a homeless dude, but he told me he was trying to get a pack of cigarettes, and I would rather go buy it for him than have it spent on drugs and booze.
Nah, yeah, I think that's fine. I would buy smokes for the homeless any day. That's totally...
I show compassion to people all the fucking time.
Okay, so...
As far as, like, showing a vast level, one level of compassion, every single person in this world is treated the exact same way. That...
So let me... Okay.
To a degree, when they are children, absolutely. But you make choices throughout your life. Not your genes, you do.
No.
As a person,
no, you don't.
Choices, hold on. You make choices throughout your life,
right? And those choices, good or bad, reflect on you as a person. For example, if I went around to every homeless camp every day of my life, just went city to city, homeless camp to homeless camp, and just gave every homeless dude I found across this country, $5 million. Right? If I had the fucking means to do that, people would be like, fuck yeah, dude. They'd remember me, right? Yeah. But, like, if I went around and just shot every goddamn homeless motherfucker, like, that would be unacceptable.
Yes, but you don't understand why.
Because you're taking the fucking life of somebody for no goddamn reason.
That's not what I mean. it's actually not. It's actually not unacceptable on its own merits. The reason why we're worried about what somebody does in their current life or in their past behavior is because it's the best predictor of what they will do in the future. It actually has nothing to do with the individual act itself. There are a ton of ways in which somebody will make a mistake and then they will change, and we forgive them for that and accept that they would never do it again. There are a ton of people who do that. That's the whole point of redemption.
Oh, I agree that redemption is real. My brother used to be a dope cooker, and he's been sober for 25 years. And I managed to avoid the entire addiction thing. My nicotine and caffeine got me pretty good. I'll say that. But like redemption is a real thing, man. My brother got sober. He's been a great kid or a great father to his kids for 20 plus fucking years. He's doing the right thing, man. Like redemption is a very real fucking thing.
Okay.
However,
are you gonna tell me that there's people there's no such thing as a person that cannot be redeemed?
Well, I mean, I think in our current context with our
person,
so
should that person get the same compassion as you?
I'm gonna can I give you an example of one that a lot of people think couldn't be redeemed, but it actually turned out to be a story that's a lot harder to understand?
If you and Charles Manson were in the same room together at the exact same time, you being you currently right now, and Charles Manson being Charles Manson right after trial, you should get the same compassion as Charles Manson.
Yes. I have no hesitation to say that. Absolutely, I should.
He should not be.
So can I give you can I give you an example of why you're wrong about that? A real one, like scientific one.
Yeah.
So there was you ever heard of the Texas bell tower shooter from the '60s?
I think so.
Guy went up in like this bell tower, shot like 20 some odd people before.
I was gonna say, did he get like 22 people or some shit?
Yeah, it was like over 20 people. It was crazy, and he did it all with like a pretty like shitty rifle. This was impressive. Like he was a pretty good sharpshooter, right? And when the police finally caught up with him and killed him, they found a note and started looking into his background. And the note was more or less basically him saying that he was being bombarded with dark thoughts that he had never had before in his life. Every single person in that guy's life said he was one of the nicest people they'd ever met in his life, up until recently. A year ago, it started to go bad, right? He had started complaining of migraine headaches, went to the doctor, okay? And when he went to the doctor, they couldn't find anything because it was 1960s medicine. But when we reviewed his autopsy in the 1980s, we found out that he actually had a tumor pushing on his amygdala, which is a part of the brain known for aggression response, and can also cause somebody to become a little bit paranoid and crazy like that. So literally, had he just been born at a different time period with better medicine, they would have MRI'd his brain, found the tumor, and treated him, or at least put him somewhere safe where he couldn't do that. So yeah, I think it's a failure of compassion to not recognize that somebody doesn't ask for a tumor in their brain. And whatever was wrong with Charles Manson's...
I agree 100%. But we weren't in that time frame.
We're going to be able to stop him from harming other people and wait until 1980 to figure that out.
So string him up by his nutsack. Fuck him.
Well, would you rather have other innocent people die or that guy die?
No, I'm saying that there's a humane way to treat people who are unable to stop themselves from heinous acts. And the reason why we treat them humanely, like there's a reason why we give you a last meal before the electric chair. You're gonna die anyway. We could just save the fucking chicken.
The last meal doesn't happen anymore.
No, okay, well, I have heard otherwise, but regardless, if it doesn't, I think that's wrong. I think it's a little compassionate. I don't think we should do the death penalty at all. I think we're gonna look back on ourselves and think we were monsters forever doing it today.
I love capital punishment.
Yeah, I kind of suspected you would feel that way. And
No, I'm not saying
that we need to like just string them up. Second time convicted pedophile, kill them, dog. They're gonna do it again, man. And I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm not showing my father, the person that provided half of the DNA to create me, is a monstrous pedophile. Now he never diddled his own kids. All right. So this is coming from a very, very close to home place. I would shoot my dad in the face if it was legal.
And I think you'd be wrong to do it. And I think that I could make a case to you in a very sober way that you would get no peace from that action. And like this is the psychologist in me. Okay? And understand that that's where I live. That's where I read most of my stuff from. That's what I do. Okay? And there's a reason why my friends come to me for this kind of stuff and why I have these conversations. I promise you, at the bottom of that barrel is no peace. You can think, you can imagine, you can fantasize about this peace. I fucking hated my dad. He pushed all kinds of shit on me, and I have gotten no peace from him dying of cancer, even though it was the one thing I said would make me laugh. You know why? He was a faith-healing pastor that insisted for years that God would take care of him and he wouldn't die from something like cancer. And it's the most hilarious irony on earth, I'll grant you, that the healing pastor, the faith-healing pastor, died of cancer. It brought me no peace.
So you're familiar with Hitler and the, all the Jew shit, right? He built the death camps, they marched the Jews there, they killed them. My dad owned a skating rink in Fort Dodge, Iowa, all right, where kids went, which is where my dad found the kids that he molested. So my dad kind of did something along the lines of what Hitler did. He just brought people, he built something where people, well, I guess Hitler forced them to go, but my dad built something where kids would go and he would find kids and he would diddle them. Do you know how weird it was when I was 19 years old and I went to go fuck a chick and I found out my dad fucked her when she was 8 years old? Like now
that's horrible.
I don't give two shits and a fuck about a grown man compared to a child. I think that a pedophile, depending on the crime, now, and I'm going to tell you why, because I have a friend of mine, again, this is literally the only pedophile I will ever talk to because I don't agree with the fact that he's a pedophile. I think the situation was a little iffy, but I'll explain that in a second. My father diddled children, and it was kind of like Bill Cosby. Did he diddle 700 kids? Probably not, but he definitely did some diddling. You know what I'm saying? Like, he definitely did some of that shit. Now, I have personally seen what has happened to many of these girls' relationships throughout their lives. I've seen how they don't trust men anymore. I've seen how they have designed their daughters to even be reservant around men because of those situations. My dad's girlfriend at the time, her daughter had to move all the way to Montana to get away from my father. All right. My dad did all of these things. My nephew, in turn, was molested by my brother's baby mama's new boyfriend. He played something called the butthole game, right? So I have seen how that has affected Travis throughout his life. I think if you're going to attack someone who is literally defenseless, because my daughter, again, you have kids. My daughter's 11. She just turned 11 a few days ago. My daughter, if someone like me was to run up on my kid and decided that I wanted it, they could take it. And I think if someone does that, there is no room for compassion. They didn't show compassion.
I understand that they didn't. I understand that.
They're not upset at what they did. They're upset that they got caught and have to face the music. So fuck compassion in that situation. Also, my mother was a victim of domestic battery right in front of me repeatedly when I was younger.
Preaching to the choir, man. I get all this. I like you're saying all this stuff. Like, I get it. Now I'm empathetic to your situation. I've gone through a lot of this. I watched my mom get beat up by one of her boyfriends. I actually myself am a victim of sexual abuse. Okay? And I've talked about that on this show.
You're telling me that your abuser would deserve the same compassion as you do.
Not only does he deserve it, I showed it to him. I know that might be hard for you to believe or accept.
But you don't deserve shit, dog. When you do nothing but take, you need to be taken.
Well, so here's another thing that you don't understand. He was also the victim of a car wreck that put him in a coma for 6 weeks. And he was also the victim of a homophobic set of parents that told him it was not okay to explore his bisexuality. And so he took that out on me. Okay? And I think in a different culture, and in a different environment, and in a different set of circumstances without the car accident, he would not have done what he did. And that's the difference between you believing that people have the ultimate choice in life.
You have to fabricate a situation around that to make it okay.
not fabricating anything.
You have to
Here's
change.
no, I'm not.
If this wasn't the case, if this wasn't, if that wasn't, if this wasn't, but that was the case.
Listen,
So once it becomes
Gandhi.
a problem, what do you do?
Okay, Gandhi already solved this one, buddy. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Okay? And if you want to treat every horrible act in this world with a feeling of retribution, that's how we all end up killing each other. That's how we all end up killing each other. Because if we draw that logic out right now, think about it. We're having a war right now. And if you think we're not involved, we've funded now 80% of the war between Ukraine and Russia. And at the end of that are two companies with nuclear bombs. So if all of a sudden we decide tit for tat, eye for an eye, you and I aren't having this conversation tomorrow. That's why eye for an eye doesn't work. So yes, you actually have to have compassion for the Putins of the world. Even if they suck. Even if they're horrible.
So that's taking eye for an eye to an extreme level. I would say that we went eye for an we're going eye for an eye at, well, I guess not us. We're kind of, I guess we're funding it. But Ukraine is going eye for an eye with Russia, and that's essentially what war is eye for an eye. It's just.
So how do you stop wars? So how do you stop wars?
Huh?
How do you stop wars?
You can't stop wars. You can't.
Well,
wars are gonna wage on forever. There's always gonna be differences in people. There's always gonna be differences in fucking cultures, religions, thought processes.
Then you and I have the ultimate impasse, because the whole point of my channel and the whole point of my work, and now we've come to it. You thought I was like trying to force my way on other people. No, the whole reason why I do this is I think in every given conflict, we have a choice between human cooperation and conversation or violence. And you think that it's inevitable, and I refuse to accept that set of circumstances. I will continue to fight for peace and love for the rest of my life. And you can call me a helpless optimist, you can call me a hopeless romantic, you can add whatever kind of language you want to it. But I'm not going to stop, because it's the right fucking thing to do. And that's why I'm saying it's an existential crisis. The reason why we have an existential crisis is because if we don't have a commitment to cooperate, and instead we're willing to just accept the violent state of affairs, we will eventually kill ourselves.
So where do you draw the line at defending yourself? Like, where do you draw that line at, like you show compassion, right? Like, that's the right thing to do.
Let me ask you this.
Like don't go eye for an eye, right? All right, don't go eye for an eye. So, like, if we were in a room and I literally just open palm slapped you, and you just looked at me and I was like, do something, and you didn't, and I just open palm slapped you again, right? And I told you I was going to keep doing it until you eventually did something, or until you just couldn't fucking take it anymore and you were on the ground. All right. What's your move?
I would take a defensive posture and then try to have a conversation with you. And you'd be amazed how well that works.
We're going to do it again.
Okay, well then I would leave.
What do you do when the other side doesn't listen? What do you do when the other side's not interested in what you have to say?
What do you do when
the other side believes just as firmly as you that they're right and you're wrong?
That you do everything that you possibly can to avoid conflict.
And what do you do if you can't avoid conflict? What do you do? What do you do if you're like, hey, Matt, listen, I want to have a peaceful backyard barbecue. Can you please not be an asshole tonight? And I was your next door neighbor, and I was like, yeah, fuck you, fucking neighbors. I'm gonna play the most vulgar fucking music I can play. I'm gonna be wearing a fucking man thong in my backyard, doing fucking yoga. I'm also gonna be fucking preaching Nazism to your people as they come over to the fence line. Like, are you eventually gonna like be like, dude, enough is enough?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean I have to get violent.
No, I keep doing it. I keep violating your shit, right? Like, now I'm moving onto your property. Now I'm over your fence line. Now I'm just fucking shit up.
Well, I don't believe in private property rights, so that's an even funnier tree that you just barked up with me. I don't believe in private property rights.
Cool. So I'm gonna tip over your barbecue, and I've decided I'm booting the window out of your fucking house, and
I start causing fucking damage. What do you do?
Unless
I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear about it. Like, I'm not going to talk to you. That's not what I'm there for.
Okay, so I live in a society full of mostly sane people, and we would collectively try to peacefully subdue you and give you a timeout, an adult timeout. It's called jail. We do it to people all the time.
Which is a conflict, right?
But not with the principle of harm reduction in mind. I want you to be able to do the least amount of harm to me, and we want to do the least amount of harm to you. So we will try our best to peacefully subdue you and stop you from harming others.
Okay, now what do you do if I have a whole military that's getting ready to do that to your country?
Well,
I'm not interested in talking.
But see, that's actually not that's never happened in the history of war.
Okay, fair enough. We've had a debate. I don't like your fucking standpoint on it, and now we're at war.
Well, what? Wait, hold on. What?
What do you do if like, you said earlier, how do you stop war? You can't stop war. You can't show compassion. You can't... Like, you can show compassion. Sorry, that was the wrong terminology. You can show compassion, but, like, you can't... I don't know, man. You're expecting everybody to be able to just sit down, hash it out, and, like... That's literally what I was preaching was, like, it should be like a
thing that people... Like a personal thing that people discuss. And you're like, what do you do when that's not a personal discussion that you can have? What do you do in the face of like I don't know. My point is like the face of someone who's trying to be logical and someone's not being logical, you can't avoid confrontation. Hence war. War cannot stop. Confrontation won't stop. Everyone's gonna have different fucking views on everything.
Human beings actually want to agree on mutually rational views of the world. That's how we end wars. You say nothing can stop war. What the fuck do you think a peace treaty is? We have ended all kinds of wars. Liam said, compared to most of history, we live in an unprecedented era of relative peace and prosperity. We have been on the path way out of this for a long time. I was actually going to bring up that point. We actually live in one of the most peaceful times in world history. And it's because time and time again, when we've had the option to either choose to have the further conversation, our human beings are biologically wired to be loving towards each other. We actually need each other for survival because we can't survive on our own in the jungle. Like, the evolutionary history of our species is not inherently violent. It's quite the opposite. So you're demonstrating a little bit of a lack of understanding of our fundamental motivations here. That's number one. And number two, your example is like, well, what do you do with the psychopath, the one that can't be reasoned with?
Well, you not even with. Well, you did use two as an example, but like again, so you can't. Everybody will have a difference of opinion. It's going to happen. Not everybody agrees on everything. If that was the case, then there wouldn't be elections. We would all just. It would be a one-world government, right? Like we don't have the same set of laws, rules, regulations, standards.
This is ahistorical. This is ahistorical. We have no way of not. We have no way of knowing if we won't eventually have a one-world government. We might down the road. But that's because we fucking just settled the world. Like, the world... We just settled America like 40 years ago, man. We weren't even all the way west until like the 1900s. You think that this is... We're not like... We didn't like leap years into the future. Modernity is new. It's still brand new. We're still figuring out how to live with each other.
What creates war? What is the start of war?
The start of war is a conflict which people give up on conversating and choose violence.
All right. So what do you do when they're not going to talk?
I don't do anything to escalate the conflict. And actually, almost all cases, most of the time the other side doesn't either, unless they are the very narrow, tiny percentage of people that are psychopathic. But that's not typically world leaders, number one. And number two, when you have that person in an individual community, we tend to ostracize them or put them in a box. And what I actually think, down the road, if we're willing to give neuroscience enough time to figure out, we will learn what causes psychopathy. from a genetic standpoint or from a brain standpoint, and we will do things to attempt to treat this problem. That is not an unrealistic future for us. Neuroscience has already made leaps and bounds into determining what makes people more aggressive or less aggressive, etc.
Sweet.
Here's a fun question. Do you know anything about bonobos?
No.
Okay, so bonobos are our closest cousin that's not called the chimpanzee. So chimpanzees are very close cousins to us, biologically speaking, and so are bonobos. The difference culturally between chimpanzees and bonobos is when chimpanzees have beef, one troop is beefing with another troop, they will tend to get into a fight, and they'll sometimes get really violent. They'll rip each other apart limb from limb. They're pretty strong, right? Whereas bonobos have orgies. And both of them are equidistant biological cousins to us in terms of genetic makeup. So all I'm saying is maybe we should be a little bit more like the bonobos if we have a choice at all, and a little less like the chimpanzees. I think it's better to fuck it out than fight it out.
I think both are necessary for procreation and a successful society.
So you think violence is sometimes necessary?
Fuck yeah.
Then, sir, you and I are at an ultimate impasse, and I think if you can find any reasonable justification...
We could have just fucking threw some KY jelly on our fucking ass and just let fucking Japan go hammy on us after Pearl Harbor? Honestly?
I actually think it's funny that you brought that up, because in Pearl Harbor is actually a case where...
Do you think the Uvalde police acted properly in not going after that dude with aggression and lethality?
No, but that's more like the singular psychopath example, so that's a false comparison. However, since you brought up the Japan one... Look, in that case, if we had a way to peacefully subdue him, in the future, if we knew how to subdue him without ending his life, I think we should have. Regardless if he had just killed 5 people. Whatever. I do not believe in eye for an eye, and I'm very strict about this. I am a very strict non-violence person.
World where violence is an option, violence will always be an option with some people, so violence will always be around. You cannot get rid of violence.
Responding in kind just makes you another violent person. It doesn't make you heroic. It's not an act of valor. You don't win points for that. Responding in kind just makes you another violent person. It's an immoral action. You should have...
Or just
Yes.
What, do you support violence?
None.
None.
0. I think all violence should be avoided.
I have a friend of mine who actually, well, not recently actually, but he fought professionally. He recently retired. He was very successful. So, is violence for sport okay? And let's look at how violence for sport became a thing. Is violence for sport okay?
I mean, if you're going to say as an option to avoid a more lethal and a more violent, again, I operate on a harm reduction principle. Is it okay? No.
I think 100% it would be way the fuck cooler, dude, if Vladimir Putin just jumped in the fucking octagon with Joe Biden. I think that would be dope. I think Biden would get his ass beat, but I think that shit would be dope.
Okay, while I agree, I think that's no way to settle something between 2 nuclear powers. I think we need a massive unilateral agreement, and we need to start having more compassion towards Russia, or we're going to keep escalating our violence. And eventually that means we could all die. So that's something that you don't just get to take so fucking lightly. Literally all of our lives could end because we don't know when to say, you know what, you've done a lot of bad shit. It's okay. I forgive you. Let's start over. Let's talk.
So okay, now let's say with the whole Vladimir Putin, if we walked away, you realize like he's just gonna fucking rickroll these motherfuckers, right?
They were the ones, and I'm not standing Russia here, but understand, Ukraine were the ones who refused to accept reality about a certain set of facts. The fact that those regions, Russia was going to take those regions no matter what. Russia was going to take those regions no matter what. Okay? And Ukraine refused to.
them.
Yes, because there were a lot of the Ukraine was not. The people in those areas, they were mixed, but there was a large subset of people.
They were going to take them, right?
There were actually militia groups already fighting in the regions that Russia was disputing things with Ukraine over. And the Ukrainian military was fighting back. So Ukraine was already fighting a war in these regions. That's important to understand. In Donbass and in the other one. I can't think of the other one's name. So the reason why is because Ukraine, being limited on state resources, was unable to deliver the same level of social standard that they did to the rest of the country to some of these regions. Some of the people living there, being more ethnically Russian versus ethnically Ukrainian, didn't like that and formed militias and started to fight back against the Ukrainian government and demand to be seceded to Russia and independent. So it's not so fucking simple. Rather than, there's a lot of different people involved in this conflict. What I do know, okay, is that Russia eventually got tired of it and decided to swing their big military dick around because they have a huge one. Now, do I think that some amount of resistance and money was probably a smart move by the West? Yes. In terms of harm reduction, yes. What would have been a smarter move was to have the proper conversation that needed to be happen before all of this so that no one had to die and agree that some of these regions needed to be let go. But due to territory dispute and claiming national sovereignty, because nations themselves are a source of violence, they're declaring a border on everybody else and saying, don't cross this or we'll kill you, right? And in an attempt to defend that sovereign border, Ukraine refused to make any concessions. So no wonder they had a war on their hands. They didn't want to talk. Ukraine didn't want to talk. Russia did. So it's not so simple. Now, do I think that the response is way over the top from Russia? Absolutely. Putin has been nothing but a giant bully. But the problem is that's a bully with the power to destroy the world. So you don't just get to bully him back. Because if you piss him off enough, he can kill all of us, including himself, and he might. So it's a little more complicated than you want to make it out to be, if that's the example you want to use.
Well, you just said literally exactly what I said. One side wanted to talk and not the other, which led to
an overreaction from Putin. Yes, my whole point is talk. If you can, avoid violence. Ukraine is incredibly stupid for not solving this diplomatically ahead of time. And it was because they refused to make any concessions whatsoever. Sometimes the best thing to do, the least harm in the world, is to recognize a power dynamic when somebody else has power over you and then live to fight another day.
So just sit down and just be like, and you good, is what you're saying. Sometimes that's the best choice?
Yes, it would have saved a hell of a lot of lives, that's for sure.
What if that choice forces you out of your home?
Find another home. It's hard. The whole history of the world is soaked in blood. But as I pointed out, we live in a relative time of peace compared to any other point in history, and we did that because we were willing to have more and more of these conversations. And by the way, this comes full circle, because this exact kind of thing, this inability, this wanting to exert violence on others when you think that they've wronged you, is how people justify making demands on their partner's behavior, right? Like that's one of the ways.
It's not when people wrong. It's not when people wrong me. It's when people wrong defenseless people because they can do it.
Okay, but why do they want to do it? Like, that's the thing that's the difference between you and I. And this is the point I keep trying to make. And I got to get going to bed here pretty soon. But the whole difference between us is I think that when people want to do that thing, they are sick. And we just haven't figured out why yet. And eventually, if we give ourselves long enough and we continue to believe in human cooperation and conversation, we'll start to learn why these people are sick. Hitler wasn't evil. He was confused and ignorant. That's hard for people to believe. but he literally mixed eugenics with some bad ideas about conspiracy theories about the Jews and came up with this really bad concept. And, like, if somebody had just taken the time to sit down with him and be like, dude, but I don't think it works like that. Let me point out some counter arguments that kind of, like, point out there's a different thing going on here. And if he'd actually maybe read more of Karl Marx's works, he might not have decided to go that route. You know? Like, I would much rather have the conversation with Hitler before Hitler becomes Hitler. And everyone should want to do that. That's how we create a less violent world.
Violence is a requirement, man. You can hate it
Hate all you want, bro, but like,
it's not.
Violence is gonna be around forever, bro.
I just gave you a perfect example of there are other non-species, non-violent species of apes that are very commonly non-violent, that we are very close cousins. Violence is a cultural choice. It's a cultural imperative. Our species was not always this violent.
Yeah, but like those species, I don't know of a single ape that owns a steel mill. I don't know of a single ape that's a pasture.
This is just I know that you think you're making a point here, but you're just not.
But like so what wars are not fought on religion and money? Like those,
yes.
That hasn't happened. Not as much religion anymore, but we'll say religion doesn't really have anymore.
Oh, religion. Hold on. Religion is still the number one cause of violence in the world. And I think it's important to note that Vladimir Putin's state, Russia, is a Catholic Orthodox state. So just want to be clear about that. That's important to note.
You get prosecuted for not being whatever? Huh?
I didn't understand what you were just saying.
Do you get prosecuted for not practicing in Russia? Well, he's a dictator, so that doesn't really...
Actually, yes. I know metal bands that like have recently fled Russia because they were considered like playing like the devil's music. Like,
yeah, I know. It's the dictatorship, man.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Religion, you're exactly right that religion is still one of the number one sources of violence, and so is money. You will also find that on my channel, I argue that we should abolish religion and money. So, right here with you, buddy.
I don't think we should abolish money.
Then I vehemently disagree with you.
I think a barter system should be placed alongside.
I don't know how you create a system where people don't feel like they have to give up more of themselves. Like, the existence of money allows... There's just no way to do it without people exploiting each other. But that goes down an entirely different rabbit hole of why I'm a socialist that I don't want to go down tonight. I'm happy to do it another time. But I think this has been a pretty good chat. I hope you understand my position a little better and at least don't think I'm just trying to force my way onto everybody. I'm trying to create a world where we cooperate better and have better, more meaningful relationships. And I hope that's at least you
sound a lot less Google.
I can appreciate that. Do you at least recognize this isn't something I just pulled out of my ass either? That I've done some fair thinking and work on this?
I think you put a little bit of thought into it. I think you put a little bit of thinking into it. I think you put a lot of work into it. I think that you blanket a lot of things that don't need a blanket on them. For example, relationships. That is a very big one. I don't think my relationship with Pizzetti should be classified the same as my relationship with my children, nor should neither one of those be classified the same as my relationship with my mom, and nor should any of those be classified the same as my relationship with my wife. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, I think so. Just to like, I think this is a good thing to wrap up the conversation on. I think you misunderstood my point. When I was talking about that, it wasn't that I was saying that I think that they should all be classified exactly the same way. I think it's useful to distinguish between son, friend, sister, brother. At times it's useful. But when it comes to how these relationships should be structured, and what the goal of the relationship is, right? I think that, like, all of them should contain a certain few things to be considered healthy, and should not contain a few things to be considered healthy as well. And if it contains some of the things it shouldn't contain, or if it's missing some of the things we should expect it to see, then we know that's an unhealthy or toxic relationship. And so my point is, romance is one of those things. It's not a type of relationship. It's a feature. It's something that all of these relationships should have. And if any one of them was missing it, you'd be like, yo, why do you, like, never seem to express any kind of love to that person? Okay, so you think it's a type of relationship, and my point is, the reason why I was trying to distinguish that is, a lot of people think that's a type of relationship, and it's the one they have with their singular partner. I think this is a misapprehension. It builds to the illusion that we build for ourselves that monogamy is real. I don't think monogamy is real, and so, like, I think we just misunderstood each other. My point is that they're not all the same. It's just that there's not this one type called romantic that's special between you and your partner. And if there is, and you think there is, cool, what makes it that versus everything else? What's the one thing that just you and that person can share together or do together that no other relationship can? And if you want to, like, think about that and get back to me on it, I'm curious. But that's a charge that I've asked, like, hundreds of people now, and I've never gotten a singular answer. So I don't think it exists. I'm trying to be objective about it. I'm trying to jettison my own bias. Maybe I'm wrong. But so far, I've never gotten a response to that one. So if you can be the first, I will be amazed.
Holy fuck, dude, there's a giant-ass praying mantis in my fucking garage, y'all. That motherfucker's huge. Whoa! Whoa!
They're all big. I've like never seen a small praying mantis.
I love praying mantises.
They're terrifying. I don't know how you can love them.
So
They're
cute.
absolutely no, they're terrifying.
Oh, they're so cute.
Dude, they will fuck you up.
Fucking brown. Why is it brown, bro?
That's a thing. I don't. Hold on. I'm looking this up.
They'll fuck you up. They're like this
Brown praying mantis. I think like it has to do with like the season they're in, or if they just molted or something. Brown praying mantis.
They'll fuck you up. They're so tiny.
The genus Mantidea. The brown praying mantis belongs to genus Mantidea. These insects are close relatives to cockroaches and termites. The brown mantis lives mostly in tree trunks and branches and therefore has adopted the color brown. Okay. So apparently there's just some of them that are brown. Yeah, basically, yeah. A giant...
fucking flock of praying mantises.
Jesus.
I would be terrified if that was me. I don't fuck with bugs.
So we know a lot of the same people. Like, you know Ryan Small?
Like, I don't know a lot of these people well anymore because I kind of, like, fell off the face of the earth after, like, high school and stuff for a long while because I was in a toxic-ass relationship. But, like, I know the name and I could probably pull them up on Facebook.
So I go over to his house. Well, his mom's house. I'm friends with the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And me and his little brother partake in this shit called the catch and release program, man. We'll just catch little bugs and get them stoned and release them back into the wild. I'm like, at the beginning of the year. Alright, so I just this year learned what the fuck a water moccasin was. I didn't know it was a cottonmouth. Sorry, a rattlesnake. Sorry, I didn't know it was a rattlesnake. So I'm out by Hartford. There's a boat ramp that a buddy of mine owns a bunch of land around.
And we were down there off my buddy's land, like a few hundred yards down from the boat ramp. And he's got like a gravel trail that he built to get down there because he goes fishing there too. And like I'm going back up to the Jeep. I'm trying to get some shit. And I see this little tiny snake. I love snakes, man. Like, matter of fact, this has been like the last like 6 years has been the longest I've ever gone without having one. So I found this little snake and I'm like, yo, dude, I want to fucking kick it with this little guy. I pick him up. I don't fucking have gloves on. I know nothing. I'm just fucking carrying him around, man. And I get back to my chair where I'm fucking fishing from and I put the snake in the little like net cup holder thing, you know? That little motherfucker started rattling, dude, and I about shit myself. So,
oh, God. Oh, no.
My brother was like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, dude, I found a cute little snake, bro. And I think it's a rattlesnake. Do we have those in Iowa? And he's like, dude,
Yeah.
that's what a water moccasin is. So I had to Google that shit.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I've been fucking with a baby-ass fucking killer for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, water moccasins are no fucking joke. They'll fuck you up.
Smoke in his face and shit. I was taking bong rips, blowing smoke in his face. Like, I was like 5 inches from his face, bro. He could have got him. He was like a foot long.
Oh, it's funny as fuck, dude. I am glad you did not get bit, because that would have been an unfortunate trip to the ER for you, my friend.
It's like 15 minutes down gravel, dude, if you're like hauling ass. I can only imagine how I would have probably been dead before that.
No, they don't kill that fast. That's in the movies and shit, but it ain't like that. I think as long as you get anti-venom within like 4 or 5 hours, you're usually fine.
Yeah, because I'd probably be like an hour minimum.
Now, in an hour, you might lose a limb or some crazy shit. Like I've heard that. Like, but you won't die. You know what I mean?
Fuck, dude. That's terrifying, bro. I
But-
was dying.
You definitely were closer to it than you've probably been along other points in your life. There's no doubt about that. That's crazy.
How the fuck, like, so what if you would have bitten me in my face? Well, like, that would have pretty much been guaranteed, wouldn't it?
Let me look this up. How fast can a bite from a water moccasin kill you?
Want to be like a day and a half.
Between minutes to hours? Am I wrong?
Oh shit.
Water moccasin bites can lead to death if not attended to immediately. Symptoms of a cottonmouth's bite. Okay, hold on. What's this? This fucking wild.
Fuck me, dude. Nuh-uh.
Don't mess with water moccasins. Dangers of their bites. Water moccasin bite can be very serious and even life-threatening. These snakes are found in freshwater habitats throughout the southern blah blah blah. While most people who are bitten by water moccasins will survive, there's a risk of serious health complications. Yeah, okay. Most people survive.
I've got a heart condition, man, so.
There is no definitive answer to how long you have after a cottonmouth bite, as it depends on the severity of the bite and how quickly you seek medical attention. However, it is generally advisable to seek medical attention as soon as possible. Okay. Can I get some,
I don't know if this is true or not, but it was told to me when I was a kid, and I guess I just never looked it up as an adult. Are they more potent as a baby?
Despite the fact that cottonmouth snakes produce less venom as adults, it is still classified as venomous in juvenile and baby cottonmouth snakes. You should be on the lookout for warning signs that the snake is about to bite you if you come into contact with one of these snakes. Cottonmouth bites can be both extremely dangerous for humans and their pets. In most cases, these snakes will bite you when they are actively harmed or disturbed. If the victim is suffering from a medical condition, he or she should seek medical attention from a physician or hospital.
I definitely disturbed them, guys.
What happens if you get bit? Okay, this is what I was looking for.
Don't your blood like gel up?
The bite,
Like clots?
the bite site can be severely damaged. Internal bleeding can occur. A limb can be lost, and the muscles that protect the bite can be bled. Cottonmouth venom has a wide range of effects on tissues and can cause swelling and cell death as a result of its bite. Snake envenomations in the emergency medicine practice, emergency department management of North America snake. I can't even say that fucking word. Reported in September issue, blah, blah, blah. Each year, approximately 10,000 emergency department visits in the United States are associated with snake bites, with approximately 3/4 of them involving venomous species. It is critical to recognize that 2 major types of venomous snakes exist: the Crotalinae, or pit vipers, and the Elapidae, or water moccasins. Men aged 18 to 49 are more likely to experience venomous snake bites during the warmer months. That's because we'd fuck with them. While there is a correlation between snake size and bite severity, the relationship is far from perfect. Snake venom may vary depending on their level of threat, with defensive bites having a different profile than bites to strike prey. Coral snakes are poisonous in North America because they have a triangular or spade-shaped head, elliptical pupils, hollow rectangular fangs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's all the different things. Tachycardia, tachyphenia, hypotension, nausea, vomiting, weakness, and diaphoresis are some of the side effects. The common cause of...
Because I have sinus tachycardia, and I have like a heart condition like right now all the time.
Yeah. You should probably smoke a little less weed if you got that going on, bro. I had to quit for that same reason. It's hard though.
It helps with my. It actually helps with my blood pressure.
The weed?
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts to get weird. I had to give up like all kinds of shit. Caffeine, cigarettes, all that shit.
So I'm gonna keep it real, man. I'm gone. I do tea breaks every now and again.
Yeah.
Like cigarettes and caffeine, bro. I've tried to give up fucking Mountain Dew so many times, bro. And like the longest I'm gone without caffeine, like I think it was like 2 months, and then I broke down and started drinking sweet tea again.
Yeah.
And then like nicotine, man, like fuck that. No.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun. I'm out here like doing life natural. I'm raw dogging life these days. It's not fun. But hey,
man, I got a lot of chronic pain, and like I got bipolar and ADHD really fucking bad, so like kind of get quite a few benefits.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, hey, I'm gonna call it a night. It's been a good chat. I'm down to do it again sometime if you want to come up with something else.
All right, man. Be safe.
Have a good night.
Bye.